Chapter 735, Young Sanzi came to help. Chapter 735, Young Sanzi came to help. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh! Just like pitch-black rain, they all landed like a downpour behind Luo Yunhai. He came before Zhuo Fan in excitement. "Brother Zhuo, it's been ages. How have you been?" "All right." Zhuo Fan grinned and patted his shoulder. "I'm relieved you've now grown into your role as clan head. You must be skilled now in leading the Luo clan." Luo Yunhai shook his head. "It's all because Brother Zhuo set the stage. With the 3 stewards minding everything, even as a clan head, I didn't have much worry." "Ha ha ha, a clan head's greatest ability is to manage his people. If you'd micromanage everything in the clan, then you wouldn't be a clan head." A smile was splayed on Zhuo Fan's face. "Those 3 are called the wisest 3 in Tianyu. It's clearly not for nothing. With them by your side, I had no worries." Luo Yunhai was worried though, "But big brother Zhuo, I always hoped you'd come back. I've always kept the Grand Steward spot empty for you. Even Steward Zhuge won't touch it. As for the other 2, you got their positions set. When will you be coming back?" "I'll be a steward again when I return." Zhuo Fan grinned at him. "I'm currently soaring through the ranks, yet to come back down." Startled, Luo Yunhai blinked at Zhuo Fan. He, there's another empty seat as well, my cis husband. You could always. Forget it. It's better to be a steward." Zhuo Fan shook his head. "I already have a wife. I sent a jade slip over to call for help just to save her, then go back to the Luo clan." "Truly?" Luo Yunhai was overjoyed. Just then, a rough voice sounded from behind. "Steward Zhuo, you're coming back at last? We've waited ages for this." Zhuo Fan looked up to see a very familiar face, his number 1 aide, Li Jingtian. He was already in the 6th layer of ethereal stage, bursting with power and might. His grand aura even forced the weaker cultivators back. Next to him was Qiu Yanhai, Shui Qingjian, the 2 sages and tens of others in the ethereal stage. While foreign to him, they all held Zhuo Fan in high regard. "Elderly, everyone, long time no see. I'm indebted to you for this." Zhuo Fan cupped his hand before them. Returning the gesture, they said, "Steward Zhuo, it's our duty. Thank you all. Let's rush to Mystical Heaven's sect." Zhuo Fan cupped his hands again and shouted. The Luo clan bowed and took to the skies, till the end. The demon scheming sect's crowd was in shock at such display. These guys only had around 40 ethereal stage experts, yet Zhuo Fan only told them to fight and they obeyed, no questions asked, not caring about their safety. The demon scheming sect had many reservations in this battle, yet they looked at Zhuo Fan's serious face with a lost look, then sighed. They are Steward Zhuo's clansmen, of course they trust him. They didn't even ask for a reason to fight, only for Zhuo Fan to tell them to. It went to show just how highly he was seen among them. No wonder Steward Zhuo abandoned demon scheming sect's prospects to return home. This clan was worth it. Fiend Yang and Venerable Qi sighed. "Dad!" A childish voice came from the skies once more. The people looked up to see a red glow flash before them, taking the shape of a 7-year-old. Only this kid could fly, and from the faint aura he gave, he was definitely in the ethereal stage. All of Demon's scheming sect was shocked. How did this kid train? This is ludicrous. Only Zhuo Fan and Luo clan knew that he was Tianyu's number 1 freak, invincible scamp Gu Santong. No matter how freaky and tough Zhuo Fan was, he fell in 2nd place. Not that it mattered when they were practically related. "Dad!" Gu Santong landed right in Zhuo Fan's arms, cheering. Zhuo Fan smiled. "Kid, you came at last. I thought the old guy wouldn't let you." "As if. Even if Uncle said no, I'd just sneak out to help my old man, he. Gu Santong was so glad he was holding Zhuo Fan in a tight and long hug. Zhuo Fan was also happy to see him. However, the demon scheming sect was dumbstruck. A freak like Zhuo Fan had a 7-year-old in the ethereal stage? His entire family is made of freaks. They could only sigh and shake their heads. Eh. Gu Santong pointed at the two sages. Why aren't you two dead yet? Last time you had me trapped real tight. Now you dare show your faces again before me? Let me just send you off then, permanently. Gu Santong was about to jump out of Zhuo Fan's arms and straight at the two. The sages tensed and fell back. Young Sanzi, they're with me. I also helped you by teaching them a lesson. It's all in the past now. Zhuo Fan grabbed Gu Santong and explained. Startled, Gu Santong turned to him and only after a while did he nod. How smart of you. You're only alive for being on Dad's side, humph. Snickering, Gu Santong raised his tiny fist at the two and the sage's side. Young lord, it's you who always messed with us. You're just as unreasonable as your old man. Scratch that, you're worse. The sages felt helpless before the duo bearing the same insufferable attitude. That's enough catching up. Let's see how we're going to attack Mystical Heaven's sect. After pleasantries, Zhuo Fan turned serious. Yunhai, how many did you bring? Luo Yunhai cupped his hands. The 4 tigers of Tianyu are defending the border, Elder Yen is handling alchemy, while the stewards handle the internal affairs. Except for them, Luo Alliance's entire power is now present. We have 50 ethereal stage experts, 5,000 in the radiant stage and 100,000 large flying tiger army. Demon scheming sects oldies clicked their tongues. For a mere clan to gather such force sure is a rarity. As our agent in Tianyu, he really is amazing. Then we will make up for each side's gaps. Next we'll be crushing their home advantage. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed and waved at the two armies to come and hear his plan. They all lit up and looked at him in stunned silence. 2 months later, in a dark room in Mystical Heaven sect, the sound of the door unlocking was heard as the heavy iron door creaked open. A savage face was revealed, yet he wore the lavish clothes of a gentleman, Xian Xiaoyu. In this dark place sat 3 girls, Chu Qingcheng, Shui Ruahua and a woman in her 30s, of soft skin and black eyebrows. Despite being pale, she kept her grace. Senior Sister Chenying, is this really necessary? Xian Xiaoyu bore a twisted smile as he mocked, your confinement will soon end. 20 years have passed, yet you still cling to this. You're unmarried so I don't need you. Why must you cause such a scene? Glancing at him with a cold look, she spoke, Xiaoyu, I've watched you grow and thought you'd be different from your father. I was wrong. Your demons are worse than your father's. Your father loves his son dearly. Which is yours? My father, the sect leader, is your master, no? The way you talk is like you don't see him like that anymore. Xian Xiaoyu huffed and turned to Chu Qingcheng's flawless beauty with intoxication, everything I do is for love. Junior Sister Qingcheng, half a year is almost up and he still hasn't showed up. You better hold your end. Don't worry, I won't suck you dry, I know restraint. I wish to grow old with you. Chu Qingcheng's brow rose and she spoke flatly, he will come. Since he said he'll be here in 6 months, then he will be here. If he won't show, it's because you stopped him. I will always hold on until he comes before me. Humph, a demonic cultivator entering a righteous sect? Demon? Ha ha ha, who is the real demon here, I wonder? Han Shenying mocked. Xian Xiaoyu was furious and clenched his fists. But he controlled himself. Then, a frantic disciple rushed over to report, Young master, there's someone outside the sect asking for you. He said he's Zhuo Fan from Demon Scheming Sect. Chapter 736, Arriving at Mystical Heaven Sect. Chapter 736, Arriving at Mystical Heaven Sect. Proofreader, Papatonks. Zhuo Fan. Xian Xiaoyu's eyes widened in shock. This manic demon dares to knock on Mystical Heaven Sect's door? The girls were startled and Chu Qingcheng was smiling. Looking at her, Han Shenying smiled, Junior sister, your guy ain't bad. Just the fact he faces Mystical Heaven Sect alone shows he's worth it. But I'm not content. I want to see him and hear his answer. Smiling, Chu Qingcheng sighed. Shui Ruohua looked on in envy. Junior sister, a man that cares for you will be with you forever. I believe his answer will be the one you wanted. Enough. Xian Xiaoyu snorted, demonic cultivators are cruel. How can a damn demonic cultivator be fit to stand next to junior sister Qingqing? His flowery speech has duped her. I will never let her be deceived by such a shameless fiend. Shui Ruohua sighed, junior brother, how did you turn out like this? So petty and greedy. You weren't like that before. I changed, you say? It's you who changed. You've always been cold like ice and against demonic cultivators. Well, now you let yourself be taken by the demonic path. Xian Xiaoyu's eyes turned bloodshot from anger. Even if you changed, it doesn't matter. I refuse to let Qingqing sink any lower. Han Qianying watched his crazed attitude and sighed to Shui Ruohua, junior sister, let it go. He's been taken by his demons. He's even worse than a demonic cultivator. He won't wake up. His father must know this as well, yet what does he do? He still caters to his crazed son's whims yet says he purges demons. His son wouldn't have ended up like this if he hadn't pampered him to this extent. Sigh, his father has been overcome by his demon as well, or he wouldn't have dragged junior sister Qingqing into this. Mystical Heaven's sect has long since stopped being righteous. Shui Ruohua's heart was crushed and she sighed. Mystical Heaven's sect was where she grew up, always being righteous as it was. But at some point, she noticed that it had turned rotten. Its glory, hiding a deep shadow more dreadful than a demonic sect. Her sadness only deepened. Xian Xiaoyu mocked, junior sister Qingqing, you really think I'll let Zhua Fan go since he came alone to Mystical Heaven sect? Or what, you'll detain him, someone so important to demon scheming sect? Chu Qingqing sneered. Xian Xiaoyu gnashed his teeth, there are plenty of ways to keep him here. Don't underestimate me, junior sister. You can't beat him and I advise you not to taunt him, lest you want your life to be over. Chu Qingqing spoke. Xian Xiaoyu's heart shook, then he was enraged. Her cold attitude showed how little she cared about him. He clenched his fists and came to a decision, junior sister, you'll see. I will make him crawl like a dog before me. We'll see who's the final winner. Guard. Yes, young master. One disciple bowed. Did Zhua Fan come alone? Is there anyone with him? Xian Xiaoyu squinted. The disciple reported, young master, there is one man with him, one called Kuei Lang. Kuei Lang? Isn't that senior sister Qianying's close friend? Ha ha ha. Xian Xiaoyu snickered at her, senior sister Qianying, you were just praising Qingqing's yearning but yours isn't any humbler. Because of his love for you, Kuei Lang had abandoned his match with me in the Double Dragon Gathering, risking his sect's punishment. How else would we get to beat demon scheming sect in singles? Now that he came waltzing in here like an ignorant fool, I bet senior sister must be wanting to see him too. Han Qianying shook. Xian Xiaoyu snickered, don't worry, I'll make sure to leave his corpse for senior sister to bury, ha ha ha. Xian Xiaoyu laughed as he left, the iron door closed shut behind him. Han Qianying clenched her fists, her heart a mess of joy and sorrow. Then she started blaming Kuei Lang. This foolish man, coming to Mystical Heaven sect. But I'm relieved that he still remembers me after all these years. I didn't suffer 20 years in vain. Chu Qingqing smiled at her, senior sister, rest easy. With Zhua Fan around, he will be fine. That guy of yours is that amazing? Can he stand tall before Mystical Heaven sect? Han Qianying asked curiously. She admired Zhua Fan's courage, but she was still skeptical about his power. Mystical Heaven sect was a sect after all, and he'd be trapped in its array once inside. How was he to protect Kuei Lang when he had to worry about himself first? She knew Zhua Fan was revered in demon scheming sect, but Xian Xiaoyu had become obsessed and would not care if the sects became enemies. Young master must be planning to get rid of them at all costs. Who will save them then? Chu Qingqing smiled to ease her worries, I know Zhua Fan better than anyone, so relax. He never was one to lose out. I have never seen him lose in any of his fights. I believe he came prepared this time as well. Chu Qingqing's face was one of absolute trust. Han Qianying watched, stunned. Shui Ruohua nodded as well. Senior sister, I've seen Zhuo Fan as well, he's not normal. Kui Lang should be safe with him. Han Qianying looked at them and took a deep breath to calm her heart. All she could do was pray that this unknown and mysterious Zhuo Fan would be capable of a miracle to keep both of them safe. Outside of Mystical Heaven sect, an opening popped into thin air, followed by a disciple coming out and welcoming Zhuo Fan and Kui Lang. Honored guests, sect leader welcomes you in his hall. The disciple was in the profound heaven stage. He bowed and spoke amiably. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. Mystical Heaven sect wants to play around, huh? This is clearly a trap. Not that they were scared, since they came willingly into the tiger's den. The two cupped their hands and Zhuo Fan spoke, "Thank you for leading us." The disciple bowed again and took them in. Steward Zhuo, they didn't attack outside because they want to get rid of all traces on the inside. They don't want to take any chances. Kui Lang sent to Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan smiled and nodded, sending back, "That's for sure. They went for the girls and know why I'm here, since they welcome us in, it shows they want to kill us outright, not caring about the demon scheming sect. Then we don't need to hold back at all. But before we start, we must make sure the girls are safe. We can't have them using them as hostages." Kui Lang's eyes flashed. They soon arrived at the flashy main hall. The disciple led Zhuo Fan and Kui Lang inside, but on the main seat they saw an old man that was barely skin and bones with a hard look and dignified air. The disciple bowed, "Greetings, sect leader. The honored guests have arrived. Leave us." Sect leader Xian spoke and the disciple left. Sect leader Xian looked Zhuo Fan in the eye, "It is you, Zhuo Fan. Does sect leader Xian know me?" Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. Sect leader Xian nodded. 10 years ago, in Tianyu Empire, I chose Chu Qingqing to prepare for Double Dragon Gathering, while Xie Weiyue chose you. I thought I had him pay a heavy price for you, but I was astonished to find out how much you shone in the Double Dragon Gathering. Your name shook the Western lands. I can see that sect leader Xie's eyes were sharper than mine. Ha ha ha, sect leader Xian is too kind. Zhuo Fan smiled. This old bag of bones, what's with that heavy look? What Double Dragon Gathering preparations? You clearly took her for your son. You think I don't know? Hypocrite. Zhuo Fan and Kui Lang despised him on the inside. Chapter 737, Bargain. Chapter 737, Bargain. Proofreader, Papatonks. Sect leader Xian's face was flat as he said, "I can't help but wonder, what has brought you to my sect? Can it be that sect leader hasn't heard?" Zhuo Fan raised a taunting eyebrow. "Qingqing and I come from Tianyu and have known each other since. I owed her a clear answer since then and never got to give it yet. At the Double Dragon Gathering, I came upon a realization, so I had told her that I would give her an answer half a year later. Now I have come to fulfill that promise." Sect leader Xian squinted and turned colder on the spot. "Is it love?" "Oh, sect leader Xian is so wise to see it." Zhuo Fan nodded with a smile. Kui Lang at the side had to hide his chuckling. Bam! Sect leader Xian slammed the armrest in anger and jumped to his feet. "Zhuo Fan, you're a demon-scheming sect disciple. If you're here on sect matters, I'm most open for discussions, but my sect has rules too. My disciples are forbidden from being friendly with demonic cultivators, especially about fraternizing. For you to mention this to me, are you perhaps doing it to mock my sect rules? Men, seize them." "Yes." Sect leader Xian issued his order and the main hall was flooded with people from everywhere, all profound heaven disciples. Zhuo Fan sneered. Did this guy not hear about my feats at Double Dragon Gathering? When even ethereal stage experts were no match for him, what was he doing throwing small fries at him? Since so many came at a mere shout, it was obvious this was premeditated. This wasn't to capture them, but to force them to strike first. Sect leader Xian knew killing demons scheming sect's best disciple just from a mere offense was the worst way to do it. He had to get this disciple to make the first move, by killing mystical heaven sect's people and sealing his fate. The fact one killed their men, even in their own home, was inexcusable, making it so killing him in turn was totally justified. Not even Double Dragon Manor might get involved. This sly dog wants us killed. Zhuo Fan squinted and just stood there. Kuei Lang looked calm as well, giving Zhuo Fan a look of admiration. It's all going as Steward Zhuo predicted. This old coot really wants to make us start killing. First is to lure us into a crime, then use experts to purge us for the demons we are. Thank God Steward Zhuo saw it coming, or we'd have started killing. Not so fast. Zhuo Fan shouted, Sect leader Xian, you knew long ago why we're here. Why all the theatrics? Let's be blunt about it and talk business. Sect leader Xian watched the two as the tide of people only surrounded them. He knew his plan fell through and waved, all of you leave. The disciples started, then receded as the tide, gone in a blink and leaving the three alone once more. You're worthy of your reputation in Tianyu Empire. To have your name echoing far and wide after Double Dragon Gathering as well, Steward Zhuo sure is something. Steward Zhuo nodded, if anyone else would have come to me with this, I'd hardly care. But Steward Zhuo, since it's you, I'm a little intrigued. What kind of business are you talking about? Zhuo Fan smiled, Sect leader Xian, Mystical Heaven Sect has lost in the Double Dragon Gathering and hardly got anything. Ha ha ha, not that much. It's pretty much the same as always. With a sharp glint in his eyes, Sect leader Xian noticed something. Zhuo Fan, where are you going with this? Nowhere, really, only considering Sect leader Xian's position. Demon Scheming Sect and Mystical Heaven Sect have always been at odds. Demon Scheming Sect now has 10,000 sacred stones to grow. Mystical Heaven Sect only got 200. 100 years from now, Demon Scheming Sect will soar while Mystical Heaven Sect will be stuck. Even if there were more Double Dragon gatherings, do you really believe you have the power to turn it around? What are the odds of something like Demon Scheming Sect's sudden rise happening again? At that time, who knows what our sect leader would do? Zhuo Fan had an evil smile on his face as he looked at Kuei Lang. Getting a little bit of kick out of it, right? Ha ha ha. Steward Zhuo, you have a much too kind opinion of our sect leader. When the time comes, he won't stop there, he'll make sure none of those that offended him will ever return. Right, it's you who's been in the sect for longer and got his temper. Ha ha ha, Zhuo Fan patted Kuei Lang's shoulder. Kuei Lang laughed as well. Sect leader Xian's cheek twitched. Zhuo Fan, just say what you want. Let's make a deal. His face back to being serious, Zhuo Fan began, you know what I want. I got 2,000 sacred stones from the Double Dragon Gathering, almost the same amount the last spot in middle 3 sects got. If you have them and grow up fast, in the next Double Dragon Gathering you won't fall so far behind of Demon Scheming Sect. Sect leader Xian's eyes lit up. He probed, you mean you're willing to give me 2,000 sacred stones? It's not give, but trade. Zhuo Fan squinted, we only want Chu Qingcheng and Han Shenying, then these sacred stones are yours to do what you please with them. Quite the bargain. Sect leader Xian frowned, his heart stirred by all kinds of feelings, even as his face looked stone cold. You want me to give my disciples to 2 demonic cultivators just for that? What do you take me? Businessman. Zhuo Fan cut him off with a smile, you made a deal with Qingqing the first time. Now I am the one making a deal with you. You had Qingqing come to your sect for Double Dragon Gathering. Now it's over, and you didn't get to win much either. And now that I come to you with a losing deal on my part, you're not going to take it. Sect leader Xian's beard shook as he frowned. Using disciples in a deal is not the righteous path. But seeing how you're so willing, then of the two, just one. It's either both or the deal is off. We'll just leave and won't even take them. Demonic cultivators are cruel at the core and we want the 2 just so we can ease our regrets. But if the price is too high, we'd rather not take it. Breaking emotions is a road we all must take. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed, giving sect leader Xian no chance to haggle. Sect leader Xian knows that I only have 2,000 sacred stones on me. I also only want the 2 girls. From the start, our chips were called, and this deal can only have 2 outcomes. Please, enough with the games, sect leader Xian. You're looking down on our sincerity. Amazing. Sect leader Xian was dumbstruck, but then he sighed, men, bring Qingcheng and Qianying. Yes. One disciple outside the doors shouted and rushed to comply. Zhuo Fan and Kui Lang nodded and grinned. It all went perfectly so far. The old coot was taken in by the sacred stones. Easing a breath, sect leader Xian felt stuck. He discovered that ever since Zhuo Fan showed up, everything went his way. Being led around like this left him feeling most unsettled. Not even when talking with Xia Wuyue would he lose so much ground. Sect leader Xian was glum inside, so he said, Zhuo Fan, does Xia Wuyue know you're giving up 2,000 sacred stones for 2 girls? If sect leader knew, would we have reached here? Zhuo Fan smiled. We all know using resources on the enemy isn't good for the sect, but demonic cultivators are selfish. For our girls, we sometimes have no choice but to ignore the sect. Sect leader Xian nodded. Just like I thought. Xia Wuyue has no clue about this. That's good. They came by themselves. That means they don't have demon scheming sect backing them. Even if I take the stones, then I can. Sect leader Xian's eyes flashed with bloodthirst as he made a sinister grin. Xian Xiaoyu just came out of that room and was about to go to main hall, to prance around as Zhuo Fan was at his death door. Yet he saw a disciple rushing to where the girls were held and shouted, Hey, what are you doing? Young master. The guy bowed, Young master, I am obeying sect leader's order, taking Chu Qingcheng and Han Qianying to the main hall. What? Xian Xiaoyu looked at the main hall in shock. Father, what the hell are you doing? Chapter 738, The Answer. Chapter 738, The Answer. Proofreader, Papatonks. What happened to the 2 from the demon scheming sect? Are they dead yet? Feeling restless for some reason, Xian Xiaoyu grabbed the disciple's shoulder as he asked. The disciple was slightly scared, holding in the pain coming from his shoulder as he faltered. They and sect leader were at odds at first. Sect leader gave the order to kill them, but then... Then what? Xian Xiaoyu stared fixedly at him. Gulping, the guy hesitated, then sect leader had us leave. They talked some more, seemingly reaching a conclusion, then sect leader had me bring the ladies. Beat it! Xian Xiaoyu roared, pushing him. His cheek twitched, his eyes exploding with fury, reaching a conclusion. What the hell is that old coot doing? Didn't I tell him Zhuo Fan must be killed? Why are they just chatting? The disciple slowly got back to his feet, not even looking the angry young master in the eye. Young master, if that is all. I have to pass the order. Hold it. Xian Xiaoyu barked and the guy almost cried in fear. He didn't know how he was supposed to face such a crazed young master. He feared the young master would explode and kill him. Ever since Double Dragon Gathering, the young master was unnatural, his mood volatile. Many junior brothers were killed at the slightest whim. It would not be much if this was a demonic sect. But we're a righteous sect here. How can you kill left and right? But since he was sect leader's son, everyone had no choice but to bear it. The guy spoke on the verge of crying. Young master, how may I help you? I'm coming with you. I want to see what game Zhuo Fan is playing to unsettle the old man. Xian Xiaoyu clenched his fists as his face twisted in rage. 15 minutes later, the heavy iron door opened with a creak. Xian Xiaoyu and the disciple were back inside. Chu Qingcheng mocked, back already? Xian Xiaoyu was vexed. He didn't answer. The disciple walked up. By sect leader's order, senior sisters Qingcheng and Qianying, please come to the main hall. Why should we? Chu Qingcheng asked back. The disciple shook his head. I don't know. After sect leader talked with the two disciples from demon scheming sect, he told me to get Pa. Before he finished, the disciple was met with disaster in the form of a hard slap. It hit his cheek with so much force, he was bleeding from the mouth and collapsed. You're supposed to relay the order, not run your mouth. Xian Xiaoyu glared. The disciple was overcome with injustice, but did not voice a word. The girls were overjoyed. Zhuofan got sect leader Xian to get them out. Han Qianying was startled as she muttered in disbelief. The crude Kue Lang knows how to negotiate. It has to be Zhuofan. Qingcheng, your man is really something to make sect leader yield. Chu Qingcheng smiled, her pride in Zhuofan could not be explained with mere words. Xian Xiaoyu was annoyed at their faces and was about to blow a gasket. Don't get too happy. You might be going to main hall just to see Zhuofan begging on his knees for my dad's mercy. Give it up. Xian Xiaoyu snapped, men, take them. Yes. Someone came over to escort them. Wait. They turned to Shui Ruohua. Can I come to the main hall to see as well? Shui Ruohua spoke. Xian Xiaoyu squinted then nodded with a mocking smile, sure, senior sister Ruohua, you've always looked after me before, but since the punk showed up, you've changed. Were you entranced by him as well? Then I'll bring you along as well, to see who the real winner is between us. Xian Xiaoyu flicked his hand and another person came to Shui Ruohua to take her. Flushing red, Shui Ruohua glanced at Chu Qingcheng, but what she got in reply was a curious look. She had to lower her beet red face, unable to look straight at her. Xian Xiaoyu and the three girls strutted over to the main hall. Qianying. Seeing the girls, the restless Kue Lang rushed to his feet and went to the girl he hadn't seen in 20 years to grab her soft face. Han Qianying shook, her own hands gently tracing the aged face as she spoke tenderly, it's been so long, Kue Lang. Yeah, the child is all grown up, Kue Lang nodded, choked with emotion. Zhuofan smiled, then he looked at Chu Qingcheng yet in no rush to go to her. He just gracefully put down the teacup and simply walked to her. I've come to take you. Chapter 739, Blatant Taunt. Chapter 739, Blatant Taunt. Proofreader, Papatonks. Sect leader Xian's face fell as he barked, I knew demonic cultivators aren't to be trusted, but I never believed you had the nerve to go back on your word right in my sect. Go back on my word? Haha, sect leader Xian, you're blowing things out of proportion. Zhuofan sneered, speaking of trust, there's nothing of the sort between us. Let's be honest here, did you really go that far, all the way to Tianyu to get Qingcheng, just for double dragon gathering? Wasn't it to save your poor excuse of a son? Sect leader Xian shook as he spoke, where did you hear that? Pa! Zhuofan snapped his fingers and in a flash of blue, the Danner everyone knew appeared. Danner! The girls cried. Danner was shocked to appear here, but was happy to go to them. Sister Ruohua, Qingcheng, I told Zhuofan everything. He'll take us out. The girls smiled in joy. Sect leader Xian knew Zhuofan knew everything and no longer faked. He stood up, unleashing all his power and his bloodlust. He clearly wanted to rob Zhuofan. Zhuofan sneered, Sect leader Xian, it was you who showed no trust in us. Our deal was never going to work. But now, I will give you one last chance. 2,000 sacred stones for Qingcheng and Han Qianying. You now have a choice to make, between the future of the sect and your son's life. The people started and turned to sect leader Xian to wait for his answer. The girls now understood how Zhuofan convinced their sect leader to get them here. 2,000 sacred stones were very enticing for a sect. No wonder even the sect leader, who was always thinking about his son, was enticed. But when Zhuofan only mentioned Chu Qingcheng and Han Qianying, Shui Ruohua was crushed. How did he forget about her? Xian Xiaoyu stared at his father, soaked in sweat and waiting for his decision. It couldn't be that his dad was going to forsake him for 2,000 sacred stones, right? Zhuo Fan. Sect leader Xian squinted as he spoke. I want the fish and I also want the bear paw. How will you settle it? Zhuo Fan stared hard at him. Isn't it giving up the fish for the bear paw? Smiley face Mencius saying. The meaning is you have to sacrifice something in order to gain something. For the entire story, https://ethics of suicide. Lib Utah. edu/selections/Mencius/. Wrong, it's eating the paw and taking the fish. That's how you have them both. Sect leader Xian's aura exploded as his bloodthirst spiked, making everyone shiver. The power of an 8th-layer ethereal stage expert caused these radiant stage cultivators to feel like they were under a mountain, suffocating under its pressure. Xian Xiaoyu was overjoyed. He got his dad's intention, to get both Chu Qingcheng and the stones. That meant killing the two. His joy was short-lived, however, as a scarlet fist slammed into his chest. He couldn't even react as the power went through his chest like a sword. He sprayed out blood from his mouth as he was sent flying, making a 3-meter large hole in the wall. The bright sunlight shone from the outside, on his bloody figure and glinting off the golden scales of his armor, now dented. Shuddering, Xian Xiaoyu looked at his original spot with hatred. Zizhua Fan. TCH, a 9th-grade spiritual armor. It must be your lucky day to survive a blow from me. Zhuo Fan said in disdain. Sect leader Xian went pale. A 30-meter-long red spear appeared behind him and pierced at Zhuo Fan's small build as he roared, Zhuo Fan, you harmed my son. Die! At the incoming immense power bearing down on them, Han Qianying paled and wanted to warn Zhuo Fan, but Kuei Lang stopped her with a smile. Han Qianying was puzzled. Zhuo Fan looked to be in the radiant stage. Fighting sect leader in his crazed state was a death sentence. However, Kuei Lang showed not an ounce of worry. Do they all believe Zhuo Fan can live after sect leader's soul attack? She had no way of knowing. All the people here had seen Zhuo Fan's might, and they knew it was out of this world. Sect leader Xian, you're using power to have your way. Since you wanted this, then I won't hold back, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan snorted and looked at the long spear. He squinted and a dragon roar echoed out as an astonishing light came from his body. Bam! The loud bang grated the other's ears, the flood of power sweeping everything and making the main hall erupt, its pieces falling everywhere. The mighty force made the whole sect quake. The elders and venerable were startled and rushed over, while the clueless disciples just watched the main hall in stupefaction. What's going on over there? The ground kept shaking as dust engulfed the skies, covering the bright sun above. The girls held their ears, shaking with the earth as they tried to hold on. When the dust settled, Han Qianying watched in shock. That Qianying, that is the proof Steward Zhua is the best disciple in Western lands, a heaven dragon soul like exalted double dragons. The large scarlet dragon flicked to its tail and wrapped the spear tight. It could not budge an inch. Zhuo Fan sneered at the spear, hardly caring about it. Kuei Lang ached in pride, as he made the introductions to his woman. As if the soul was his to begin with. Stumped, Han Qianying now came to inside. Junior sister, your man is just like you said. It's my first time seeing a disciple stopping sect leader's enraged blow. Chu Qingcheng smiled in pride. Kuei Lang was also smug. Qianying, Steward Zhua isn't just a disciple, in the double dragon gathering his strength has got nothing to do with you. Don't talk like his glory is yours. Han Qianying cast her elegant eyes on him and shook her head. You haven't changed after all these years. You still like to brag, I see. Kuei Lang gave a bashful smile, looking at Han Qianying with joy and bliss. Sect leader Xian watched Zhuo Fan's dragon and was shocked. He heard the disciples that came back that Zhuo Fan was tough, but not by this much. He was at the 8th layer ethereal stage, yet Zhuo Fan was only in the 4th layer radiant stage. The gap was more than 10 layers. Even with the heaven dragon soul, there was a limit to how much one could bridge it. Yet his ever-trusted long spear could not even touch Zhuofan, trapped by that scarlet dragon. It was so strong it even overwhelmed an expert like him. Zhuofan saw through his shock. Sect leader Xian, I might be of lower cultivation, but my soul formed when I entered the radiant stage. In other words, my soul is like a fourth-layer ethereal stage soul. Not to mention it's the strongest there is, the heaven dragon soul. You'll have to try harder if you want to take my life, ha ha ha. Sect leader Xian was outraged, his fists clenched. This is a blatant taunt. Never in his life had he been taunted by such a young radiant stage expert. What made it worse was that the taunt was irrefutable. Looking at the trapped long spear, sect leader Xian grew angrier. On his turf, he was the one that looked bad, his sun was smashed, and he couldn't do anything about it. He felt he had no face left. Whoosh! Sect leader Xian shook and recalled the long spear. His eyes were fixed on Zhuofan, glinting coldly. Zhuofan, you really are the best disciple you showed at Double Dragon Gathering. But don't think for a second you can go where you want in Western lands. You're not the best yet. Here is the mystical heaven sect, not your backyard. Sect leader Xian roared and tens of figures littered the sky. Chapter 740, Hiding a Million Army. Chapter 740, Hiding a Million Army. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh! One after the other, ethereal stage experts gathered around them, numbering more than 60. Their huge auras turned into a cage, trapping all of them in the middle. Their hearts sinking, the girls looked at the savage faces they each had and shook. These were the highest powers of the sect. Alone, Zhuofan could beat them, but not like this. The girls were worried for Zhuofan, but he and Kuei Lang were calm as ever. Not even Danner twitched. As if it was all in the plan. Danner sneered at those elders even, rolling her eyes. Ganging on. We'll show you the real meaning soon enough. Zhuofan, there's nowhere for you to run. Seeing that help was here, Xian Xiaoyu regained his ego. Struggling to get to his feet from the heavy wound, he cackled, ha ha ha, weren't you tough? Let's see how tough you are in my home. Men, finish him. Xian Xiaoyu ordered and the elders were about to act, but sect leader Xian held them back. Ignoring his clueless son, sect leader Xian eyed Zhuofan, hand over the stones and I'll let you go. Father, Xian Xiaoyu cried out but sect leader Xian waved him off. With an evil grin plastered on his face, Zhuofan said, Sect leader Xian, you take me for a 3-year-old? If word got out that mystical heaven sect not only wanted to kill me from the start but now wants to rob a mere disciple of his sacred stones, the whole Western lands will look down on you. Would you actually allow that to happen? Ha ha ha, in the end you'll still use power to have your way. I'm no fool, so please don't insult my intelligence. No one would believe you. Zhuofan, your biggest flaw is that you're too clever. It would have been so much better if you just died without knowing so much. Sect leader Xian's brow shook, since you already guessed it, then no more mincing words. I'll just have to search your corpse for my prize. Are you sure you'll find them? Ha ha ha, even if I don't it won't matter. In the end, an astute man like you won't ever leave this place alive. Sect leader Xian shouted, everyone attack. Kill him at all costs. The others roared and converged on Zhuofan, unleashing their souls and surrounding the almighty Scarlet Dragon King. The thick bloodthirst had even almighty Scarlet Dragon King shaking. Zhuofan raised an eyebrow and waved, Sect leader Xian and the mighty mystical heaven sect is ganging up on someone. My, if only the world knew. You're wrong. No one will know with you dead. Sect leader Xian had a nasty smirk on his face. Western lands will soon find out the best talent in Western lands. Zhuofan invaded mystical heaven sect in his madness to violate and kill a female disciple, causing havoc through our sect. The elders fought to contain you but the demon was berserk and had no choice but to put him down. Not even Xie Wuyue can question that. The others were shocked. Sect leader Xian wanted to kill them at all costs, then make up some excuse. Seeing the elders closing in, they turned serious, with the girls ready to die in this. Only Zhuo Fan took it in stride. Nice speech, but what about this take? The best talent in Western lands, the distinguished and carefree Zhuo Fan, was the victim of a most nefarious ploy. The mystical heavens sect planned on robbing him of the 2,000 sacred stones and even killing him for them. However, the sect elders came to the rescue, carving a path of blood. Zhuo Fan's ring flashed and 50 demon-scheming sect elders came out, displaying their souls with a bang as they met the mystical heaven sect strike. The elders returned to Zhuo Fan's side with a heavy face as they watched the enemy warily. While mystical heaven sect's elders were stunned to see 50 more people coming out of nowhere. What? This kid's ring can hold people? Xian Xiaoyu's eyes shook as he cried out. Sect leader Xian shook his head. At most, his ring can only hold these many. Calm down. Sect leader Xian mocked Zhuo Fan. Your version isn't bad, but a shame it's not going to happen. This is the mystical heaven sect. I have all the men and power I need while you only have 50 people. What's 50 more corpses anyway? Sect leader Xian shouted, Inner elders and venerables, hear my order. At his summons, the sky was soon filled with people flying over one after the other. There were hundreds of them. Zhuo Fan, today you'll be buried along with these people. Sect leader Xian smirked with pride. Xian Xiaoyu was overjoyed. Yet against the tripled-doubled layers surrounding him, Zhuo Fan and the new demon-scheming sect elders on the scene were unperturbed. They had it all planned out. Laughing at the sky, Zhuo Fan lifted his ring, his eyes shining. Sect leader Xian, you think only you can call people out? Ha ha ha, this might be your turf, but not even you'd expect. With my cautious nature, how can I come without assurances? Just to die. Sect leader Xian shook, his heart uneasy. Then he looked dumbfounded as the rest of the elders at what happened. Brothers have come to answer the call. Zhuo Fan's thunder ring flashed blue. Lights started coming out of it and an aura covered the skies. The pressure of the mystical heaven sect's group was now dispelled in an instant. When the light show finished, what came out was a shocking scene. Even sect leader Xian was stunned and watched Agape, the enemy attack. In an instant, none could believe their eyes. It was not much of an exaggeration to say the whole sect was stunned. They were under attack. This cry had spread throughout the mystical heaven sect. Many disciples stood stunned at the news. Where? How are we attacked with such a clear blue sky? Besides, isn't the array on? Where are the attacks? They were still oblivious that while an attack at night was a night raid, one in broad daylight was called an enemy attack. In this situation, however, the critical point here was who the enemy was, and whether it could threaten them. Zhuo Fan and Kuei Lang were looked down upon by sect leader Xian. Zhuo Fan called 50 helpers, yet sect leader Xian still did not call out. But now, he shouted this and proved they had the power to threaten the sect. And this power was now within their prized array defending the sect. They were in their home. This attack out of the blue was just too inconceivable for the disciples to understand and prepare against accordingly. This was a concealed danger for the future. How is this possible? Xian Xiaoyu looked dumbstruck at the army. Where did they come from? And so many. How can he hold so many people in his ring? The girls were looking shocked as well. The once clear sky was now covered by a sea of people, in the tens of thousands. It was literally an army. How can this be? A mere storage ring held an army on standby. Everyone gasped at Zhuo Fan and at his ring. Where did this guy get that kind of treasure? That's too outrageous. Didn't that mean he could strike anyone with an army whenever, wherever? This is freaking unheard of. How would they know that Kunpeng reforged the ring into a sacred ring? Its space was not only huge, it could even hold a nation. This was not the point though. The crux here was Zhuo Fan got the army and hundreds of ethereal stage experts from demon scheming sect to easily slip past mystical heaven sect's array. Next was obvious, a huge war on the sect's lands. Now, only strength would be the judge as to who would win. In this war, mystical heaven sect's fate was at stake. Would it perish? Quite possibly. Chapter 741, Necro Dragon's Claws. Chapter 741, Necro Dragon's Claws. Proofreader, Papatonks. Venerable Chi, Venerable Bai, you will take the right flank and stop the enemy. Elder Chiu, Sister Shui, you take the left flank. Elderly, you will take the remaining ethereal stage experts and carve a path through the middle. The disciples are to go with the Flying Tiger army on a killing spree. Get the treasury and cut off their reinforcements. The army just showed up and Luo Yunhai started giving orders, just like how a real marshal would. The men roared and went to execute. The mystical heaven sect oldies were still slow on the uptake when the demon scheming sect's force came at them with the intent to kill. Now they had to react. However, demon scheming sect's force had Luo Yunhai preparing them till now, teaching them formation. The sheer display had struck fear into the mystical heaven sect, caught unprepared as they were, and it made them frantic in their response. In a single fight, a commander had little importance, while in a group, that was where he showcased his ability, taking initiative on the battlefield through strategy and awareness. In a split second, the battle turned out to be an enactment of the strategy Luo Yunhai and Zhuofan devised early on, taking the higher ground. They were the ones surrounded by hundreds of elders, yet now, the left and right sides were freed while in center, Elder Li's force was having an easy time clearing a path. Luo Yunhai then took Flying Tiger army, the Radiant Stage and Profound Heaven Demon scheming sect disciples as he shot forth, ignoring the ethereal stage experts' fights so as to not suffer needless losses. Their targets? Mystical Heaven sect disciples. They aimed to kill them and take the treasury's arms and pills to cripple the enemy's backup. Although the reinforcements were close, knowing that it was taken out so fast it would strike a blow at the ethereal stage experts' morale, sapping them of the will to fight. Zhuofan nodded. Yunhai is becoming more and more outstanding. He doesn't cower even when ordering ethereal stage experts. He's just like me back in the day. There's the Luo clan as well. Looking at the familiar faces, Chu Qingqing was startled. Zhuofan nodded. Yep, they heard the great steward Zhuo's madam was taken and came in full force to help me. Well. Even though it's been so long since I left the Luo clan, they still hold me in high regard. She rolled her eyes and shook her head. But what about the demon scheming sect? How did you get the sect leader to give you so much power? Han Qianying asked in shock. She had grown in the sect and knew of its might. But why would demon scheming sect leader spare nothing in saving Zhuofan's wife? She just couldn't figure it out. Was Zhuofan so important to the sect leader, much more than the sect? Zhuofan and Kuei Lang looked at each other and chuckled. Well, we'll talk later. Now, we need to finish what we started. Zhuofan's eyes shone and stared at sect leader Xian. Grinning, he shouted, "Sect leader Xian, it seems to me, my version isn't far from becoming a reality, ha. Sect leader Xian's face twitched. Watching the frantic battlefield, he grew startled and angry, clenching his fists as he shook all over. Zhuofan's sudden attack was out of his predictions and that had him scared, to the point it even made room for panic to set in. But he was a sect leader after all. He took a couple of deep breaths to calm down. Mystical Heaven sect, fight. Beat back the invaders. Toll the bell. Ack! Yet not far from the main hall, howls came as it started burning. Sect leader Xian cried, "That's the treasury. They're stealing our arms and cutting off our supplies. Damn it. They were ready for it from the start. That's why they started this war," said a venerable with a long beard who was standing next to sect leader Xian. He started cursing. But how the hell did these outsiders know where our treasury was? Who the hell told them? Sect leader Xian gnashed his teeth and held a girl in his bloodshot eyes. "Danner, you damn traitor. You even told everything to your enemies. You're giving Mystical Heaven sect no chance of survival. If I had known I wouldn't have taken you in." Well. Shaking, Danner looked scared as she hid behind Chu Qingqing. But she soon got over her fear and stuck out her nose. "Master, didn't you take me in for your own devices? Enough of your noble act, stop trying to look benevolent." As Zhuofan said, "We each take what we need, regardless of the other. You want our lives and I'm supposed to just give it? No way." Shaking all over, sect leader Xian was fuming mad as he barked, "Filthy traitor, you've been lied to by that demon punk. I'll make sure to get rid of you for this betrayal." Sect leader Xian pointed and the long spear soul shot straight for Danner. Ack! Danner once again ducked behind Chu Qingqing. Then, the dragon roared once more and Zhuofan's almighty Scarlet Dragon King blocked the girls. It flicked its tail and slammed the long spear. From the immense power surge that was released, many ethereal stage experts that were fighting were blown away as the long spear was beaten back. Almighty Scarlet Dragon King also had a scale on its tail destroyed from the clash. This was a draw. Sect leader Xian, "The lass is my wife's little sister, which makes her my little sister. Are you looking down on me so much by targeting her?" Zhuofan walked on the Scarlet Dragon and mocked sect leader Xian. Sect leader Xian gnashed his teeth as he spat, "Zhuofan, you've brought all of them here to ruin my sect. I won't let you off for this. TCH, you're talking as if you would have if I was alone, hypocrite." Zhuofan sneered. "No matter what, today I vowed to accomplish 3 things. 1. To answer my wife's 10-year-long question. 2. To take her from this place she gave herself for my sake. And 3. Humph." Zhuofan's eyes shone with bloodlust. "To get rid of any that dare threaten my wife. That's why your death is at hand, so you will never touch her again." Zhuofan roared as the Scarlet Dragon shot for sect leader Xian. Sect leader Xian gnashed his teeth and charged as well. The huge long spear and the mighty Scarlet Dragon clashed in a mighty display of force. The power surge made the fights around look like a children's scuffle, forcing the ethereal stage experts to back away before they could resume the fight. Demon scheming sex oldies saw for the first time Zhuofan's soul and were shocked by its power. Looking at the two fight, that was not between a disciple and a sect leader, but between 2 sect leaders. Every elder and venerable sighed, then nodded. At some point it seemed Zhuofan wielded the power of a sect leader. "Sect leader will help you." The 2 venerables next to sect leader Xian shouted. But a black shadow appeared in front of them, Li Jingtian. Li Jingtian gave them a cold look. "Sorry, I hope you won't disturb Steward Zhuo's fight." "You'll be fighting me." The 2 mocked, "You're only in the 6th layer while we are in the 7th layer ethereal stage. You hope to take us all by yourself? Fool! Ha ha ha, idiots, we are Steward Zhuo's people. How can our cultivation be normal?" Li Jingtian sneered, "Only dumb homegrown cultivators would ever think that." The 2 were outraged. "Humph, you'll know soon enough, old man. Behold the power of mystical heaven sect's double axe exterminators." The 2 shook and a huge axe as well as battle axe appeared behind them. Their power was so mighty it felt like they would rip space as they hacked at Li Jingtian. "Ha ha ha, our double axe souls are famous throughout Western lands for their sharpness. Even a domain soul will have a hole ripped in it. Your death is certain with your weak cultivation. Sorry to disappoint you, then." Li Jingtian's eyes flashed and grinned at the incoming axes. Then, a malevolent aura exploded from him. Soul variant, Necro Dragon Claws. Roar! A roar shook the skies as a pitch-black dragon enveloped Li Jingtian. The 2 dragon claws oozed sinister power as it grabbed the axes. The 2 mocked, "Fool, that's no heavenly dragon soul. There's no way that it can, ugh." Crack! The 2 shook and their eyes bugged out, dying like that. As for the axes, they were torn to pieces, dissipating in the wind. On Li Jingtian's black dragon claws, there was even a faint black glow. "I'm no heaven nor earth dragon soul, but that doesn't mean I'm going to lose to some overconfident fools." Li Jingtian's eyes shone and he left, leaving the surrounding elders to gape in shock. Did he come from the secular world? For him to be tied to Zhuofan, he must be something else. Chapter 742, Loyal and Righteous Clan. Chapter 742, Loyal and Righteous Clan. Proofreader, Papatonks. Stop those damn brats from getting to the treasury. Under Luo Yunhai's leadership, Flying Tiger Army and Demon Scheming Sect's disciples quickly got away from Ethereal Stage Experts' fights and charged straight for Mystical Heaven Sect's critical areas. Sect leader Xian wasn't the only one able to see their plan, many other elders were concerned about this as well. At the shout of one man, many others got away from their opponents and went after Luo Yunhai. A great pressure was instantly upon them from behind, and even though most were blocked by Demon Scheming Sect elders, there were still 6 that got through. Under those mighty auras, Luo Yunhai frowned, his scalp tingling. They were all mere Radiant Stage and Profound Heaven disciples. Going against an Ethereal Stage expert was suicide. Even with thousands of people on his side, it would still end up with their cruel demise. They had no way of stopping those Ethereal Stage experts' souls with their puny divine sense. They would be mowed down like grass. Whoosh! Suddenly, 2 very familiar figures appeared next to Luo Yunhai, Yuer and Kuei Gang. Looking tensely at him, Kuei Gang hurried, "Luo clan head, what do we do? Master told us to listen to your every order. Your brother Zhuo's disciples. He actually took disciples. He always refused when asked. Even Elder Yen was only imparted skill and never taken as a disciple. You." Luo Yunhai shook from the shock. Then nodded, "I see. No wonder Brother Zhuo picked you 2 to come here among the thousands of disciples of the Demon Scheming Sect. You're on our side." Kuei Gang nodded, "Yes, Master said we always listen to him, and while Demon Scheming Sect disciples will obey an outsider's order, that won't go on for long. So he let us 2 be the middlemen. In any case, we're also Demon Scheming Sect disciples. They trust us more. If you have any orders, tell us and we'll make sure these disciples will follow your lead. Then take all of them and attack the treasury." Luo Yunhai shouted, then flew behind. Startled, Kuei Gang quickly grabbed Luo Yunhai who wanted to leave. "Wait, what are you doing? We're attacking the treasury, but what about you? I'm going to stop the Ethereal Stage experts on our backs and buy you time." Luo Yunhai flew again. The 2 were stunned. Kuei Gang held much tighter now as he grew nervous. "You're looking to die. They're Ethereal Stage experts. No matter how many people you have, they'll end up dead, all of them. And I am a soldier at heart. A soldier does not fear death on the battlefield. In any case, this way we'll reach our goal." Luo Yunhai grinned. Kuei Gang was stumped then gnashed his teeth. "Master had us obey your orders. You're the commander here. How can we let you be in danger? I'll go. Demon Scheming Sect disciples, listen up." "Paw!" However, he didn't finish as Luo Yunhai grabbed his shoulder. "Since your brother Zhuo's disciple, with the Luo clan here, how can I let you face danger? Moreover, Brother Zhuo told me that in this war you must be safe. Later, he'll be giving you a great surprise." "But you," Kuei Gang's eyes shook. Luo Yunhai waved his hand. "This is the way of the Luo clan, of righteousness and loyalty, a teaching passed down through generations. As the clan head, I have to uphold it. Brother Zhuo did so much for us, so I won't ever let his disciples be at risk. Moreover, you said it yourself. Your master told you to obey my orders. Then listen to my command." Luo Yunhai flicked his sleeve and got away from them, flying behind to welcome the 6 Ethereal Stage experts. "Flying Tiger Army, with me. Focus your divine sense, breaking formation." "Yes." The Flying Tiger Army converged and charged at the enemy with Luo Yunhai. They all knew what awaited them. But life meant nothing before a soldier's duty to obey. This was the Luo clan's style. Combined with the original Luo clan's literary reputation, of being righteous and loyal, Zhuo Fan's bold and fearless nature, as well as Dugu army's inviolable orders, it became just like an impressive army. Seeing this fearless and brave army, Kuei Gang and Yuer were stunned. Then they sighed, no wonder Master always wanted to go back. This clan cares so much for him. For our lives, as mere Master's disciples, this clan head is willing to pay with his. This is crazy, idiocy, or is it true righteousness? Ha ha ha, I never imagined a demonic cultivator like Master's home would be the most righteous clan. Kue Gang sighed, but this righteous clan is not as loathsome as the other righteous sections. Yuer, let's go, Kue Gang wanted to take Yuer to attack the treasury, but he found that she just stared at Luo Yunhai, still. Yuer's eyes grew hazy. Kue Gang, you listen to Luo clan head. I have another task. Yunhai shot for Luo Yunhai at full speed, leaving Kue Gang stumped. He gnashed his teeth and shouted, demon scheming sect disciples, follow me to raid their treasury. Don't squander Luo clan head's sacrifice. Yes. With a roar, the disciples looked at Luo Yunhai, touched by his actions, before going on to do their part. Behind them, Luo Yunhai took the 100,000 flying tiger army to pose as a shield for their backs. They had no chance in stopping the ethereal stage experts, but their dauntless aura gave a feeling of security. No wonder Steward Zhua came from the Luo clan. All of them are amazing. Whoosh! The 6 ethereal stage experts were now upon the army. Luo Yunhai shouted, charge! The flying tiger army obeyed without question. He, ignorant fools. Radiant stage and profound heaven cultivators dare block our way. They sneered and mocked Luo Yunhai and the flying tiger army. The elder with the long beard flicked his hand and a lightning arrow 100 meters long shot like lightning for them. Soul variant, heaven-breaking arrow. Who? A huge pressure, one bearing death, descended upon the army. They found it hard to breathe, their mind in pain. Yet not even this could stop Luo Yunhai as he shouted, focus all your divine sense before us. We're 100,000 men. Yes. The men shouted once more, and with a strong wind, the divine sense gathered as it stuck together into a wall before the incoming arrow. The divine sense just kept getting stronger and stronger. However, the bearded old man mocked, what can the divine sense of radiant stage cultivators do? It's no match for an ethereal stage expert's condensed soul. Quantity can't beat quality. Humph, a bunch of rats are looking to die, so have at it. The other 5 ethereal stage experts laughed loudly, not in a hurry to join, and instead enjoyed seeing these ants getting squashed. Whoosh! With a thunderclap, the lightning arrow struck the divine sense wall hard. It breached it without delay and went for the army unimpeded. The men all spewed blood, feeling their heads splitting apart from the pain. The few profound heaven cultivators in the flying tiger army had it worse. Their eyes lost their light and died on the spot, leaving their empty shells of a hard body to fall to the ground. Next came the fall of 1,000 bodies as they died from the attack. Luo Yunhai was in pain with every thump. The flying tiger army was made of war puppets Shua Fan refined, and would not even be called humans, having only a divine sense. But these people were Luo clan's guards, brothers Luo Yunhai had spent years by their side. He saw them as family. Watching so many fall to their deaths tore Luo Yunhai apart. But he bore through the pain and held on. This was the Luo clan's military style. Remembering the martyrs was done after the war. Now they had one mission, to charge. The brutal lightning arrow had not slowed at all, as if to prove to Luo Yunhai and his men that all their efforts were for naught, a fool's errand. The ethereal stage experts sneered, but then their smiles fell. Luo Yunhai and the flying tiger army wore the same hard faces as they faced this deadly adversity. It was as if they did not know the meaning of weakness. Even the 6 ethereal stage experts began to show admiration. How long has it been since they last saw such determination? But you still have to die. The bearded elder's eyes flashed with bloodthirst and sent the lightning arrow flying even faster with a flick of the wrist. It was in front of Luo Yunhai in a blink. The burning lightning was so powerful he felt pain before it struck. Chapter 743, Different Path. Chapter 743, Different Path. Proofreader, Papatonks. Damn it, it's faster than predicted. Luo Yunhai squinted at the incoming lightning arrow and gnashed his teeth as he shouted, "Even if I die, you are to hold them back down to the last man." "Yes, sir." The Flying Tiger Army roared in unison. The 6 ethereal stage experts' hearts shook at their devotion, touched by their devotion. They were amazed there were people in this world with such commitment, facing death regardless of what happened to them all to complete their mission. Thank God they're only in the Radiant stage and Profound Heaven stage and can't harm us. Letting them grow would bring about a calamity. Such dreadful power made them wonder just where they came from. The demon scheming sect had no way of having such loyal disciples, that was for sure. The 5 ethereal stage experts were puzzled and sighed, but most of all, they were afraid. While the bearded elder was more determined than ever to end them. They all must die. Crack! The lightning arrow crackled as it ripped through the air, ready to annihilate the entire Flying Tiger Army. Luo Yunhai clenched his teeth with a frown. His biggest worry was not his death, but that he bought enough time for Kuei Gang's team to complete their raid. Luo clan head, focus all of your men's divine sense on me. A soft voice echoed, that of a girl in white as she landed before them. She parted her red lips and spat out an azure flaming bead. Luo Yunhai's eyes widened on seeing Zhuofan's disciple, Yuer, Flying Tiger Army, focus all your divine sense on this lady. Who? In an instant, the huge wall of divine sense that everyone formed was now flooding Yuer's body, the soldiers acting without an ounce of hesitation. Shaking, Yuer was shocked as the power flooded her, it was even too much to handle as she had to cough up blood. She never imagined Luo clansmen would be so quick and direct. They gave her everything without the slightest hesitation. They were not even familiar. Even if they were on the same side, not hesitating to give her everything while risking their lives was never seen anywhere. Yet now, the Luo clan's army did it just like that. Smiling, Yuer's heart turned soft. She grew up in the demon scheming sect, where everyone was out to get everyone. The only one she could trust was her sister. Now that she was being trusted by strangers moved her, almost forgetting her plan. Soon though, she came to and used all that power to focus on the azure flame bead. The bead shone brightly and the azure flame roared stronger and stronger, into a firewall that safeguarded everyone. Just in time to welcome the lightning. Boom! The fierce explosion resulting from the impact caused a violent firestorm. While the lightning arrow's power passed the firewall and struck Yuer. She cried out and spat blood as she was flung in the air. The lightning arrow was, in the end, also affected by the azure flame, shuddering and turning black. The bearded elder felt pain shoot through his mind, threatening to split his head open. As for the lightning arrow, it was slowly coming back to him. The azure flame bead fell to the ground as it used up all its power. The azure flame on it turned into a mote, threatened to be extinguished. 100,000 divine senses were focused and through the azure flame, they stopped an ethereal stage expert soul's attack. It only worked to prove the disparity in strength between radiant stage and ethereal stage. Luo Yunhai rushed to Yuer. Seeing her white as paper, he was worried. "Miss, how are you? Why did you come? I thought I told you to go with the demon scheming sect disciples and take their treasury." Yuer took a deep breath and looked at him through half-lidded eyes. "Why did you give me all your divine sense without hesitation? If I didn't block it, you'd be all dead." What's the point of saying that now? Your brother Zhuo's disciple. You're one of us. Since you came and decided to take that soul attack, no matter if it worked or not, we must show our trust by giving you all our strength. Luo Yunhai spoke naturally, then he looked at the bead. Reality proved you did block it. Staring hard at him, Yunhai chuckled. "I planned on blocking twice, but you guys just had to give me all of your divine sense and force me to be injured from the overflow, wasting some of it. Now I only blocked once." "What?" Startled, Luo Yunhai made a weird face. "You mean to tell me it's my fault? You should have said how much divine sense you needed." Yuer shook her head. it's the first time we met, it's even while we're at death's door. How should I know you would give your life in some stranger's hands without hesitation? I said I wanted all your divine sense, expecting to get a mere third at the most. If I said half, I might have gotten a tenth. But who knew you'd be so trusting? Luo Yunhai shook and gave her a long look. Despite looking downcast, he saw an odd sense of glee on her. He knew why and sighed. I see, you don't trust anyone. But rest assured, we, Luo clan, completely trust our allies. Luo Yunhai stood up and once again faced the 5 ethereal stage experts with his army. Miss, thank you for your help, but you're hurt now and can't take another strike. You'd best leave from here. We will stop them down to the last man. Yuer looked at him and struggled to stand, walking next to him. Master gave us a mission. No matter what happens, you must live. I will protect you till my last breath. She flicked her hand and the azure flame bead landed in her palm. Yuer stepped up before Luo Yunhai and the bead once again was ignited. Ignoring her frail body and the blood flowing from her mouth, Yuer shouted, "Give me all of your divine sense. I can take another one." Luo Yunhai's eyes shook and he held out his hand. "Give me the bead." "You can barely stand." "No, it's my mission." Yuer turned her head around. Luo Yunhai sighed then turned serious. "I'll be ashamed to face Brother Zhua after this, but I must tell you. For Brother Zhua, the end justifies the means. He only cares about his goals. To him, my life is so much more precious than anyone else here, even more than his own disciple. All are worthy sacrifices. That's why, you don't have." "Why did you tell me then?" Yunhai raised an eyebrow. "It's your honor for Master to sacrifice everyone for your life." Luo Yunhai shook his head. "Brother Zhua is just protecting me, but I don't want to do this. I don't want to live when others die. I know that Brother Zhua raised the Luo clan by himself, but he didn't force me to walk his path. That is why, as the Luo clan head, I hope to bear the lives of all my clansmen and not have them shielding me. I want true righteousness and loyalty, the path of kingship. So you don't have to admire. Then don't say it." Yuer smiled, her eyes flashing. "You want to protect everyone, but you can't stop others from protecting you. It no longer has anything to do with the mission." Luo Yunhai shook as he looked at Yuer. "I'll use the bead Master gave me to block again. No matter how it ends, with your life or death, I will do all I can." Smiling, Yuer said, "And this is my will, as thanks for your trust." Yuer showed a rare bright smile. Luo Yunhai cupped his hands. The bearded elder wounded by the azure flame finally recovered and spat, "Curse you. Mere ants dared to harm my soul. I'll make mincemeat out of you." "Hey, Elder Su, you can't even handle a few radiant stage cultivators yet still act tough?" One mocked. "Why not let me handle the brats for you, lest you want to get hurt again and make you look bad, ha ha ha." The person flicked his hand and a sharp longsword hovered in the air. Its might bore down harder than the lightning arrow. The army's heads started hurting even before it struck. Luo Yunhai and Yuer were shocked, their faces sinking. Yuer held the azure flame bead tight in her shaking hand. Not even the azure flame bead can stop such power. Chapter 744, Heaven, Earth, Fire, Water, Madness. Chapter 744, Heaven, Earth, Fire, Water, Madness. Proofreader, Papatonks. Nation-crushing sword. With a flash of contempt in his eyes, the person flicked his hand and the longsword fell from the heavens above. The powerful pressure slapped into the soldiers, halting their breaths. In addition to the pressure, the sharp sword also had a piercing soul power that caused their head to hurt as it burrowed into their minds. Luo Yunhai's expression turned heavy and he looked at the shaking Yuer in front of him. He came next to her and snatched the azure flame bead, then shouted, "Soldiers, give me all your divine sense." "Yes!" Flying Tiger Army shouted in response as everyone powered their power like a tornado into Luo Yunhai. Luo Yunhai shivered, almost unable to take it all as blood seeped from his mouth. But he didn't care, focusing all the power into the bead. The azure flame once again exploded, releasing a large fire snake. Yuer cried out, "What are you doing? Give it back now." "Ha ha, it's too late." Luo Yunhai chuckled. "Miss, I now control the bead and only I can maintain its power. If you take it, then the defense will fail and I'll suffer its backlash, dropping dead. Your brother Zhuo's disciple, so I don't think you're going to make such a rash decision." Yuer's heart tightened, giving up soon after. She should have been the one defending him, but now. Luo Yunhai chuckled, "Miss, hurry up and leave. If I die, then just tell Brother Zhuo it has nothing to do with you. There is no way I can hide behind a woman's skirt in the face of danger. I am the Luo clan head." Luo Yunhai shouted and focused all his energy. The azure flame on the bead went crazy as it flooded out of it. The Flying Tiger army was also standing at the ready to face their enemy. Yuer was stunned, and then added her own soul power to Luo Yunhai. "Miss," Luo Yunhai started, "with your wounds, how can you do such a thing? Just leave this place while you can." Yuer frowned as she turned stubborn. "Master gave me that bead and there's no way I'm leaving here without it. We'll stop the soul attack, then you'll return it." Luo Yunhai looked at her deeply, then shook his head with a sigh. "Cocky much? You actually want to stop my dipper sword soul?" The person snickered at them. "I'm unlike that Elder Su, in the third layer, nor is my soul weaker. You have no chance of blocking it with your cultivation." The person shouted and the sword soul increased its plunge. The heavy pressure increased even more, making the earth crack under their feet and kicking up a cloud of dust. The azure flames were shaking before it struck, about to crumble at any second and making Luo Yunhai and the army cough blood. The azure flame snake was also weaker. The person had a sadistic smile as he watched them suffer. His power was far stronger than the previous one. They may be 100,000, but it was not enough to even take one of his attacks. They were going to perish, without a doubt. Shaking his head, Luo Yunhai turned to Yuer. "Miss, it seems you lost your chance to leave. We shall die together. Is dying alongside me not fitting for clan head?" Yuer cocked an eyebrow. Luo Yunhai chuckled. "No, this may be the only upside in our demise." Yuer grinned and closed her eyes as she waited for the sword to drop. The terrible pressure had sapped most of the azure flame's power. The glinting sword edge came closer and closer, ready to crush this 100,000 army. "Yuer!" Yu Ling cried out, wanting to help, but she still had an opponent to deal first. All she could do was watch her baby sister die. The other demon scheming sect experts were tangled in their own battles and could not give aid either. The disaster seemed imminent. Zhuo Fan, who fought sect leader Xian, had no intention of helping either. Though he could do it in an instant, he did not. He wanted to see after all these years if the elders and venerables he arranged would jump to the rescue. If they proved unable, he would give them a thorough lesson back home. If they proved unwilling, a house cleanup is in order. "Luo clan head, did you know? I've always been someone's burden, unable to die even when I wanted to. Then I met Master and my life finally changed. Though there hasn't been much to change my mind. But now, I want to live on, just when I'm about to die." Yuer no longer looked at the sword and closed her eyes as she felt death creeping in. Is it karma, or providence? Luo Yunhai gave her a deep look and held her hand. Death may come at any time. All that matters is that you make it worth it. Though now, in the face of death, I don't think it's that bad. Yuer giggled, no longer afraid of what was to come. Face twitching, the elder of the sword soul was annoyed. "For God's sake, if there's one thing I hate most, it's seeing couples getting all lovey-dovey before death. Stop ignoring me." He made a sign and the sword soul sped up, its sharpness making their heads hurt. Their time of death was swiftly approaching. However, a burning light flashed and a scorching ball of fire appeared before the two, striking the heavy sword soul. Boom! The longsword and the fireball separated, but their power swept the area, making the weaker ethereal stage experts falter back. Whoosh! The longsword returned to the person's side and caused him to shiver as blood spilled from his mouth. He stared back in anger. Hi, it seems to me the Luo clan got itself a madam. That's a cause for celebration, ha ha ha. An elegant figure in white floated down before the army. Luo Yunhai was overjoyed, Sister Xue. Xue Qingjian looked rather pale at this moment, her breathing ragged. Yet she still put on a smile. Qiu Yanhai coughed, wiping the blood and walked next to her. Clan head, we came to help Steward Xue. So could you possibly keep your mind on track? Old Qiu, that's my line. A mocking voice came from the side, Li Jingtian. In the Luo clan, you're one of the few couples back home. True. Indeed. On the other side were heaven and earth sages, expressing their approval of Li Jingtian's words. Seeing everyone here, Luo Yunhai was overjoyed. Yu'er was stunned. She knew ethereal stage battles were savage, so how did they finish their fights so fast? But looking at them closer, they could see blood. Luo Yunhai's brow shook. Elderly, how could you? Looking at the blood on him, Li Jingtian chuckled, it's nothing. This is just the price for cutting the fighting short. What? Luo Yunhai looked at the 5 of them and saw each bearing a wound, some even a dozen, but they did not care. This made him tear up. He knew they risked their own lives by foregoing their battles to save him. This great favor filled him with gratitude. Zhua Fan grinned. Heaven, earth, water, fire and madness, the 5 high venerables he got for the Luo clan didn't let him down. Chapter 745, Strongest 5 Elders. Chapter 745, Strongest 5 Elders. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh! 24 more ethereal stage experts showed up on the 6th side. They were now 30 ethereal stage experts. 8 were in the 6th layer, 10 in the 5th, and the rest were in the 4th and 3rd layer. While on Luo Yunhai's side, only Li Jingtian and the sages were in the 6th, with the power couple in the 5th. The Luo clan was at a clear disadvantage. Mystical Heaven Sect's 30 ethereal stage experts had them surrounded with a look of scorn. Where's the fire? Ha, you ran all the way over here, just to save some radiant stage and profound heaven cultivators? Now you're in an even worse state, with them as your shackles that seal your fate. An elder with a large mustache laughed. The 5 did not care. Li Jingtian turned to Luo Yunhai, clan head, take Flying Tiger Army away. We'll stop them from coming after you. 5 stopping 30. Yu'er cried, no way. They have experts stronger than you. Qiu Yanhai mocked, lass, don't lump us with your rowdy demon scheming sect elders. Our words to clan head are just like in the military. We do what we say. We won't let one of them slip past us, or my head is on the line. Yu'er looked at him hard. Are the Luo clan's rules that strict? 5 holding back 30 was pushing it beyond their limits. It was simply 1 to 6. And now they add another harsher condition, to not let anyone slip by. Luo Yunhai nodded heavily, then I'll leave it to venerables. We'll go join the demon scheming sect at the treasury. Luo Yunhai pulled Yu'er's soft hand and flew away. Flying Tiger Army, with me. Yes, sir. The soldiers shouted and converged, following Luo Yunhai outside of ethereal stage experts' range. Yu'er was frantic, watching the 5 in worry. Why, you truly believe they can fight 1 on 6? Ha, don't worry. They are the strongest Force Brother Zhuo left for the Luo clan, their Luo clan guardians, keeping their word. If they said it's alright, then it's all in their hands. Luo Yunhai kept pulling Yu'er's hand as he flew away. Li Jingtian chuckled, then his eyes turned savage, with clan head safe, we can let loose. Humph, show off. So you're telling me you couldn't go all out before? One ethereal stage expert mocked, did you forget who gave you that fresh wound? Qiu Yanhai sneered, We got hurt on purpose. How else were we supposed to save clan head? That was your only shot at harming us. Indeed. An elder with white hair stepped out, his dreadful aura made him the strongest. You five do stand out of the crowd, stronger than the common ethereal stage experts. But you forget, you were in a deadlock before you saved the juniors, and couldn't get any advantage either. And now, you are much more tired than us. You'll be fighting 1 against 5. You're finished. The 5 just cracked up. Why are you laughing? Aren't I right? The old man asked. Li Jingtian nodded, ha ha ha, right, you're totally right. Though, that was when we fought alone. The elder had a sinking feeling. Who knew the day would come for old coots like us that would need us to work together, ha ha ha. Qiu Yanhai chuckled and said, in any case, we're also fighting for Steward Zhua this time around, who showed us so much favor all this time. We best not drag our behinds any longer or clan head might actually suffer and we'll be worse off. The other 4 grinned, sure. Heaven and Earth sages made a sign and 1 black and 1 white glow each shot from them. The 2 used this shining light to vanish. When the light dispersed, the scenery around the 30 enemies changed. There was no more clamor of the fights from other people, just a world in shades of gray. Shit, this is a domain soul. We have to get out of here before we fall victim any further. One elder shouted. The others took out their souls, a glittering display of swords, spears, axes and other weapons. It won't change anything. The 2 had a domain soul but we will smash it with 30 souls attacking it at once. The others shouted as well but when they took out their souls to attack, the world shifted. Black and white kept changing and turning their power into nothing. Even their soul power was being consumed. Outside the domain, the sages stood before the black and white ball as it spun around, ha ha ha, our domain is the yin-yang reversal. Your strength will be sapped from the constant change, given back to the world. Until you have nothing left and your soul crumbles. You've got no chance in forcing your way out. The elder startled and thought of another way, don't waste your energy, or the domain will take it. Gather your soul power together and breach the domain. We're 30 ethereal stage experts. It can't dissipate so much power all at once. Ha ha ha, right you are. Yin-yang reversal has the yin and yang characteristics. No matter how many people are inside, their power will be taken away if acting alone. But together, you can get out. Heaven Sage mocked, turning to Li Jingtian, they're about to join hands and won't be able to hold it. You should fight as well. Ha ha ha, well said. Li Jingtian's black aura surged and roared. A black dragon took to the skies and shot into the black and height ball. Soul variant, Necro Dragon Chained Claw. Roar! As the soul power of all inside the domain gathered, a draconic roar entered their ears. Before they could figure out what was happening, black claws fell from above like spears. They carried a sinister power as they pelted their souls and forced them to scatter. Everyone coughed blood and grew pale. The weaker ones took it harder, their souls gone from this world. The other cried out in fear. They never thought a large-scale attack would hold so much power in each strike. In a blink, the 30 ethereal stage experts were reduced to around half. What they didn't know was while they were scared inside the dual ball, Li Jingtian was spent outside, gasping, it's not easy taking on so many. Old Qiu, I leave the rest to you too. TCH, of course you'd be exhausted taking out half. Qiu Yanhai grinned, Old Li, you're just showing off. Wasn't there 5 of us? It should be 1 to 6. Fine, then don't join and leave the rest to the sages. Elder Li rolled his eyes. Now, though, Qiu Yanhai's face fell, no way. Since you got half, how can I fall short? Qiu Yanhai turned to Xue Qingjian with desire, about to spew fire. Xue Qingjian shook her head and giggled. She rolled her eyes. Looks who's showing off now. The 2 made their signs as 1 hot and 1 cold soul came out and made contact. In a blink, they became a scorching and bright light as it shot for the domain. Yin-yang convergence, world annihilation. Chapter 746, Winning with Fewer Numbers. Chapter 746, Winning with Fewer Numbers. Proofreader, Papatonks. Who? A fierce gale blew over, even as the remaining experts in the domain shivered in fear. They thought they'd see the claws again, but this time, what welcomed them was a blinding light. Its heat was burning them even before it reached them as it turned everything in its wake to cinder. This astonishing power had shaken their hearts with dread. One elder warned, "Be careful and don't get near it." "Thank you for stating the obvious, but how are we supposed to keep our distance?" They all looked for a place to flee, but then someone looked on in fear. "Why is it becoming bigger?" "Fool, it's not becoming bigger, it's the domain shrinking. We got nowhere to dodge." The people looked around in panic as the white scorching light closed in and only exacerbated their fears. Ack! One could no longer escape and got too close to the light, disintegrating on the spot, starting with the hand. The others watched in shock as he was slowly erased from existence, yet none came to help. They knew they would be next. "Use your souls." At the shout, their eyes lit with hope. Yet none liked to be the first to test that theory. So without a choice, the one who shouted used his soul first to strike the light. Bam! However, the soul melted on contact with the light, vanishing as well. The people's eyes bugged out, no one wanting to risk it anymore. So, the light closed in more and more, unaffected by the soul attack it took just now. Its scorching heat was taking one soul at a time. Cries sounded that filled the rest with even more dread. Finally, only 4 remained, in the 5th and 6th layer, watching the light as they prepared to die. "Curses, if I'm going to die, I'm going to make you pay." Soul explosion. One elder with bloodshot eyes roared. The scarlet longsword shot for the white light, scattering in an explosion after making contact. The old man's soul was gone and his body slumped to the ground. But the white light shook now, with Qiu Yanhai and Xue Qingjian frowning outside the domain, with blood leaking from their mouths. But to intimidate the remaining 3, they held on, covering up the weakness of the light. Watching the light coming after them still, the 3 were deathly pale. With their souls unable to do anything to it, they were out of options. They gnashed their teeth and spat, "Since we're going to die, we'll go out with a bang." Someone had his soul explode against the light, then the second. Qiu Yanhai and Xue Qingjian kept spurting blood. Now that only one elder remained, he clenched his teeth, ready to die as well, but then the light puffed out. The elder looked dumbly, then knew what happened. Regret took him. The white light feared soul explosion. If they used it from the start, then many would have survived. But everyone only thought about themselves and none wanted to sacrifice their lives for another until they had no chance but to go down fighting, when it was too late. The elder shook his head and sighed. Now what could he do alone? Outside the domain, the white light faded and turned into cold and hot lights as they returned to the power couple. The 2 spat more blood. "That's it. We can't take it anymore. Those guys are insane, going for suicide. We can't hold on much longer either. This domain is made of our souls. With so many explosions, we've been injured as well." Blood leaked from the sages' mouths and looked within. "There's just one guy left. Let him out and just beat him up." Agreed. The others nodded and the sages undid their domain. The elder saw the light of day once more, but now he was the picture of solitude. Everyone on the battlefield looked over and saw how 30 got trapped and now only 1 survived. The shock was palpable. But the lone survivor had no time to even stand straight as the 5 were on him in a blink. Boom! Fire, water, savagery, yin and yang, all came down on his head like heaven's wrath. In moments, the old guy did not even have the chance to take a breath of fresh air before he was put down, his body gone. Every onlooker stood there dumbfounded. Who are they to be so strong? killing 30 by themselves? The mystical heaven sect was stunned, the demon scheming sect was looking dumbly, and even Zhuo Fan flinched. Then he nodded. These 5 sure are strong. I didn't waste all that effort after all. Not even he thought they would make such an effective team. Yuer kept looking back and now was stumped as well. He stammered at Luo Yunhai, they. Ha ha ha, Brother Zhuo taught 3 of them himself, while the other 2 merely gave them hints. That's why they became our first generation of venerables. Luo Yunhai chuckled. They are stubborn and prideful people, always acting alone, but they actually joined hands this time. Yuer sighed, they're all freaks. Like master, like disciple. They never became Brother Zhuo's true disciples. Who's to say what his disciples would become later on? Maybe even stronger, ha ha ha. Calling them freaks is a bit premature. Luo Yunhai chuckled. Yuer's face grew hard, but master doesn't seem to care much about us. He also said that he only got into the demon scheming sect because of the sect leader's deal. Oh, acting cool. Let me tell you what I know from my time with Brother Zhuo. He does care about you, ha ha ha, Luo Yunhai chuckled. Yuer gave him a long look and smiled. Kill! In front of them, someone started shouting. They saw Kuei Gang's team fighting mystical heaven sect disciples. They all had around the same cultivation, making the fighting bitter and harsh. Luo Yunhai shouted, Flying Tiger Army, wing formation. Charge! Yes, sir! The soldiers followed Luo Yunhai's lead into battle. They were like wolves among sheep. One side had 40,000 men, the other 100,000 war puppets. One side was made of secluded disciples, while the others were veterans of war. Despite the similar cultivation, the outcome was obvious. Luo Yunhai's Flying Tiger Army turned the previous deadlock into a win. Flying Tiger Army was like a cleaver, cutting its way through mystical heaven sect disciples, leaving Kuei Gang's side stumped. Fricking hell, master, how are master's clansmen so strong? They're at the same level as us but so much better in group battles. That's what it means to be in the military. Kuei Gang directed the demon scheming sect disciples to attack as well, and the mystical heaven sect disciples had no way of stopping such brutal assault. Soon, they arrived before the treasury, but the gates were closed tight. We're here. Luo Yunhai lit up and ordered, attack the treasury and cut off their supplies. Roar! The men shouted, even the demon scheming sect disciples, all excited about burning it to the ground. However, in a yellow flash, an immense power swept them and spread blood and gore in every direction. 10,000 died just like that, with thousands being from the tough Flying Tiger Army. An aged voice sounded, who dares come to my treasury? Chapter 747, Heaven Cycle Elders. Chapter 747, Heaven Cycle Elders. Proofreader, Papatonks. Sharp winds blew as 4 old guys came out of nowhere. Their backs crooked, their eyes lidded, and sitting cross-legged before everyone. The powerful auras coming off them made the army not dare take a step closer. Luo Yunhai frowned, his heart tense as he clenched his fists. He never imagined the number of demons scheming sect elders Zhuo Fan brought at the main hall would not make all the experts of this sect converge there. At least these 4 had stayed behind. And from their vibes, they were in the ethereal stage. Yunhai was now pensive, unsure how to proceed. Li Jingtian's team looked from afar at the 4 and cried out, damn it, those are. The 5 shot for Luo Yunhai's side, growing serious. Luo Yunhai did not know the 4's power, since he was not at their stage to even feel it. But Li Jingtian found they were actually in the 9th layer of ethereal stage, just shy of reaching soul harmony stage. For these kind of experts to show up, and 4 of them, not even them, as ethereal stage experts in their rights, could beat them. There was no way their weak clan head could even touch them. Li Jingtian's team of 5 rushed over at top speed, afraid their clan head would die the next second. Zhuo Fan looked over and was worried for the first time, yet he did not have the chance to interfere. The long spear was coming for him once more. With little choice in the matter, Zhuofan continued directing Almighty Scarlet Dragon King to flick its tail, sending it away. He turned around to go there, but he saw sect leader Xian's sinister smile. Humph, Zhuofan, if you had just escaped, with so many people showing the way, I had no way of stopping you. But you just had to be so greedy and started fighting. Now our 4 high venerables came out, leaving you no chance of escape, ha ha ha, sect leader Xian cackled. Zhuofan gave the 4 old guys a long look, for ethereal stage experts in the 9th layer sure are amazing, but only a smidgen better than sect leaders' 8th layer cultivation. And you think they'll turn the battle around? Think again. Ha ha ha, a smidgen you say? Zhuofan, then you don't know much about Western lands, do you? You have no idea of my sect's power. Sect leader Xian smirked, pointing at the 4 as he mocked, then feast your eyes on their power, ha ha ha. Zhuofan looked harder then his brow shook. The 4 old guys still had their eyes closed, sitting there in midair. They sat in a 3-meter circle spinning around. Each elder released a special glow, red, green, white, golden. As the 4 lights merged following a certain pace, it turned into a blinding earthen light. Following the roar of a dragon, an earthen-colored dragon flew around the 4 of them. The ground constantly shook, feeling like the rapids on a stormy sea. The radiant stage and profound heaven cultivators couldn't even sit straight. As the earthen glow shone, they felt their innards shake and started puking blood. Many of them had their eyes roll into their skull and drop dead. In a mere blink, thousands died. Yet the 4 old guys didn't look like they moved at all, just sitting there as they moved in circle with eyes closed. Luo Yunhai cried out, "Get in the air and away from those 4. Don't let their waves strike you." No one was a fool here and rushed into the air and away from the yellow curtain of light. Ha ha ha, why would us 4 care about bugs like you lot, as they scurry away? But this time you dared to invade mystical heaven's sect and came for the treasury. As the highest venerables in the sect, the 4 of us can't ignore this transgression. One elder smiled, making all of the 4 old guys change their signs they made. They finally moved, or more precise, their circle moved. Even though they never cracked an eyelid, spinning around in a circle, the invisible circle formed felt more like a wide disk. It whooshed over the crowd and the yellow dragon looming overhead spun with them. But the powerful force made by the constant spinning slammed into everyone in its path. No one had time to react as blood and gore flew every which way. The spinning yellow disc just went right through a group and mowed down thousands of people, reducing them to a bloody pulp. The disc made a return trip and thousands more received the same gruesome death. In just one move, 10,000 people lay dead. Everyone was too shocked to react, filled with fear as they watched the yellow disc. Luo Yunhai was also overwhelmed. Seeing the disc so deadly, as it reaped through his men's lives, his heart was panicking. By the time he reacted, 30,000 men were gone from this world. He shouted, "Break formation! Everyone flee! We can't beat them! Save yourselves!" He gave the Flying Tiger army a signal and everyone scattered. Oh, the commander survived. One old man smiled, sending the disc straight for Luo Yunhai this time. Luo Yunhai rushed to flee. Yuer and Kue Gang wanted to dodge but had no way of reacting to ethereal stage expert speeds. In a blink, the disc was upon them. Feeling that raw fear its power sent, Kue Gang shook his head, "My poor life is now over. Just why did Master have to attack Mystical Heaven sect? Is it really just to teach them a lesson? It looks to me that we're the one on the receiving end." Luo Yunhai did not speak, but his eyes were firm. Even he didn't know why Zhuofan wanted to do this, but since he planned for it, he would see it through to the end. This was the unflinching trust the Luo clan had for him. Even now, with death looming overhead, he still had no regrets. Whoosh! Suddenly, a familiar figure blocked Luo Yunhai's sight. It was no other than Yuer. "Miss, it's not use. It's not like before. Being in front or back won't make a difference." Yuer said nothing, just stood there unrelenting. Luo Yunhai decided to stand by her. Why not, stand together? That way, maybe Brother Zhu's other disciple might be able to come out alive behind us. I'm Kui Gang. Kui Gang rolled his eyes and stood next to them. Before we die, you should at least know my name. Master was too busy and had no time to make the introductions before. Dying without even knowing my name is such a miserable fate. Then I'm Luo Yunhai, the Luo clan head. Luo Yunhai laughed. Yuer smiled. Yuer, demon scheming sect disciple. Ha ha ha, young lads, so close even before death. No wonder you're so amazing leading these kids. The elders from the circle overheard them and laughed, but that still won't mean you're going to live. It's your fault for not being our disciples, ha ha ha. Whoosh! The strong disc flew at them, just an inch from turning them into a bloody smear on the ground. The trio closed their eyes, ready to meet their doom. However, the three found that nothing happened to them even after a while. While the strong power was suddenly gone from their front. When they opened their eyes, they saw a white and black ball spinning in front. Not far from them, the sages had their hands locked in a sign and looking tense. Yin-yang reversal. In this critical moment, the heaven and earth twin sages intervened, using their domain soul to isolate the area around the four old guys. However, this action had made the two suffer for it. Chapter 748, Four Earth Dragons. Chapter 748, Four Earth Dragons. Proofreader, Papatonks. Elders, thank you. Luo Yunhai's eyes shone and laughed. He cupped his hands, but the sages shouted, Elderly, don't just stand there, get them out of there. Whoosh! A black figure flashed, and before the trio could react, a thick hand grabbed their shoulders and got them out. It was no other than Li Jingtian. Elderly, Li Jingtian looked stunned, but seeing his heavy look, he did not finish. He followed Li Jingtian's gaze to see the sages shake, then cough blood while their domain soul instantly collapsed. Roar! The world shook as four dragons roamed above the mystical heaven sect. They broke out of the domain and circled around before vanishing as they returned to the four elders. While the spinning circle, the yellow dragon, was still there and just as powerful. The four elders sitting in the air did not show any sign of disturbance. The sages looked at the four and revealed fear on their faces. Ha ha ha, I never knew they had people that can use such a domain soul. It's our first time seeing such a soul, such a rarity. One elder chuckled, a shame you're too weak. You've been taxed before attacking us and were injured. Or you might have made us get serious. Another elder nodded, this soul domain sure is fantastic. Using yin and yang to turn the world around. An average cultivator would have had no way to cope with it. However, this domain's weakness is glaring. It's great for wearing the enemy out, but also leaving him with enough time to deal with it. The other three nodded, discussing things as if the sages weren't even in their radar. If not for this, I would have actually wanted to see what they looked like. Humph, fogies sure know how to talk. So you're saying we're not worth a glance from you, is that it? However, following the shout of anger at the four, a gaudy white light shot for them. Why don't you old freaks look at this then? Whoosh! Like an arrow from above, a searing heat approached the four old guys. Boom! Once the glaring light was gone, the four's position became a white ball of light, making the air shimmer from the heat. Qiu Yanhai and Xue Qingjian panted as they looked over as grave as before. They knew the four were by no means dead even from the life and death art they just used. But when the light scattered, the couple still gasped in shock. How can this be? The elders were still spinning around, relaxed as ever. Their eyes were closed still, their mouths perked in a mocking smile. The yellow dragon above was still circling, unfazed. The couple trembled all over, their hearts sinking. They had been hurt before they attacked just now, but that life and death art was a strike backed by all their power. Even so, it couldn't even scratch them, nor make them budge. To the four elders, the couple was not even worth a look. Everyone felt terror at this moment. They were just no match for them. Zhuo Fan looked over and frowned. 4 Earth Dragon souls? That's precisely it. Sect leader Xian laughed. Didn't I tell you? While you don't know of Western Land's sect's powers, you at least should know of the demon scheming sect High Venerable. Zhuo Fan looked long at him and nodded. I heard of him but never saw him. Ha ha ha, then allow me to tell you. In the Western Lands, we are known as Tianyu's 3 guardian sects, with each sect their own guardians. Sect leader Xian spoke with pride. 1 Sword 5 Dragons is the name our guardians go by. What? You mean to say? Han Shenying cried out in disbelief. I've always thought it to be just a rumor. But it's real? Then the 4 venerables are them? Danner asked from the side. Senior sister, what are you talking about? Why don't I know this? You haven't been in the sect for long, so of course you don't know. High Venerable shook her head. Some elders of the sects know that our sect has 4 great venerables defending our home, Heavenly Cycle Elders. Demon Scheming Sect's elusive Sacred Dragon is equally renowned. But with how much time has passed and they didn't show themselves, everyone stopped believing this rumor. High Venerable turned to the 4 sitting elders with fear and despair. If they come out, not even the Demon Scheming Sect's entire force can beat them. Even with the High Venerable, we still won't win. Ha ha ha, exactly. They are truly mystical Heaven Sect's elders, knowing when to gauge the situation. Sect leader Xian laughed. 1 Sword 5 Dragons, Tianyu's 3 guardian sects, is made of Heavenly Sword, guarding Heaven Trailing Sect. Of the 5 dragons, 4 of them are Wood Dragon, Fire Dragon, Ice Dragon, Metal Dragon, the 4 elders in our sect. This leaves the Demon Scheming Sect's only High Venerable, Hidden Dragon. Although he is said to be the strongest of the 5 dragons, how can one defeat a team of 4? Thinking back when he with the Impermanence 5 attacked the Heavenly Cycle Elders, they were defeated. So even if he shows up, we have nothing to fear. Zhuo Fan squinted as he spoke heavily. So these 4 great experts that were always in hiding finally came out. Humph, our 4 venerables have been in seclusion for years and years, readying to enter Soul Harmony stage. But with your assault, they had no choice but to come. Sect leader Xian snarked. Zhuo Fan, you and your men will die here, ha ha ha. Xian Xiaoyu was bouncing from joy. Zhuo Fan, a vile fiend like you dared to attack a righteous sect, and now you see the power we have, ha ha ha. Seeing the father and son so full of themselves, Zhuo Fan stayed silent. My head is still sitting on my shoulder. Aren't you two jumping the gun a little? He then turned an eyebrow at the 4 old guys. They sure are strong. Guess these 2 aren't that full of it either. Ack! Cries resounded after Li Jingtian saved the trio. Luo clan's ethereal stage experts arrived there as well. 36 people surrounded the 4. However, the 4 made a sign and the dragon roared. As they spun around in a circle, dragons came out of them and then made a round trip back. Each time it did, a dragon's soul would always take at least a victim. The powerful Earth Dragon's soul along with the might of this combination made these ethereal stage experts feel like entering hell. They couldn't even get near the circle, ending up dead before they could do anything. Everyone was shocked, even Demon Scheming Sect's oldies, knowing the 4 were the High Venerables and also known as the 4 Dragons, they were struck with fear. Since High Venerable can't beat them, we're only going there to die. Mystical Heaven Sect's group came out from their disadvantage with high morale. Their support was here. I never knew these old devils weren't just rumors. For Earth Dragon souls and even forming a Heaven Cycle array. How to cope with it? Han Shenying sighed. She looked at Kuei Lang protecting her. Kuei Lang, it seems we'll only be together for a brief moment. Olo. Superscript 1AO, Kuei Lang held her hand. With you by my side, a moment is enough. Han Shenying gave a bright smile and nodded. The onlookers were gratified but also sad. The two's feelings never changed after all these years, yet when they reunited, they were about to be separated once more. Demon scheming sect's defeat meant their deaths. Sect leader Xian's side snickered. Zhua Fan's eyes were the only ones bright. He took a deep breath. I really didn't want to do this, but what choice is there? Chapter 749, Despair and Regret. Chapter 749, Despair and Regret. Proofreader, Papatonks. Boom. Following the string of explosions, wails of agony filled the area. The heavenly cycle elders spun in the air like a disk, calm and unfazed, yet with every spin, they sent out hundreds of dragon souls like a storm upon the enemy. Luo clan's ethereal stage experts had no way of approaching the four under this onslaught. In fact, they were the one getting slaughtered. In mere moments, the remaining dozens still left alive from the last attack were now gone as well. Everyone could not believe what they saw. Even Li Jingtian, a martial fanatic, shook at such power. Roar! A draconic roar sounded as the yellow dragon shot for Li Jingtian. Startled, Li Jingtian flicked his hand in a rush, sending a black dragon to meet the attack. Necro Dragon Chained Claw. Black claws came at the yellow dragon, sharp enough to whistle through the air as they approached. However, the yellow dragon still came at him relentlessly. Bam! The deafening sound made the others cover their ears. Whether mistakenly or not, they even heard sounds of tearing. The next moment, they saw Li Jingtian spit blood, his body powerless as he fell to the ground. The black dragon's soul had also vanished. Elderly! Luo Yunhai shouted, his eyes shaking. Just then, a black figure flashed before Li Jingtian, holding him before he collapsed. Qiu Yanhai sensed the faint breath in Li Jingtian and roared, Old Bat, take young master and the others away from here. Elder Li's soul must be almost shattered. The four old guys are impossible to deal with as we are. Hurry up and get out of here. Sure, old coot. Whoosh. In a flash of white, Xue Qingjian came to Qiu Yanhai. With her white silk, she wrapped it around them and left. Sages, protect us. The sage's mouth twitched, but sighed. How were they supposed to do that against such an opponent? But when it came to clan head safety, it was their duty. Yin-Yang Reversal Domain. Soul Variant, Yin-Yang World Lock. The two shouted and made their signs. The rattling of a chain was heard, followed by the coming of one white and one black chains, twisting around and releasing a strange aura. In a blink, the chains circled around the heavenly cycle elders and locked them in place. The circle was going to move again, but with the chains, it wouldn't budge. How amusing, it's not just as simple as a mere domain soul. One elder spoke in amazement. Another elder nodded, Yin-Yang chain, connecting heaven and earth. It looks like they shrunk their domain, down to the size of a chain, but it is in fact the opposite, they enlarged it. Because the chain's yin-yang energy, connecting the world, it makes us connect with it and taking out power with it, forcing us in place. I never thought these two's domain soul would have such a variation. Truly amazing. Humph, that's right. In the Radiant stage we have comprehended this move and even used it to seal off one true monster. The sages smiled, recalling the time they had Gu Santong trapped with pride. Now that we're in the ethereal stage, with domain soul as support, this move is perfected. We refuse to believe you four old coots are worse than that monster and can remove the chains. Heaven Sage shouted at the distant couple, take elderly and clan head to a safe place. Leave this to us. We promise to not let these old guys leave this place before the battle is over. As expected of the strongest sages in Tianyu. You truly are reliable, ha ha ha. Qiu Yanhai gave a thumbs up and a laugh. Luo Yunhai smiled as well, seeing the four old guys trapped. However, they had no idea how much the sages were suffering. The reason their domain soul was strong was because of its size, capable of dispersing the enemy's power. But now, the domain was the size of a chain. The heavenly cycle elders' mighty power made them feel a pressure like never before. While the chains connected the world around them, shifting the pressure, but even that fraction of power left behind was enough to strain every fiber of their being. But they held on, even if their tendons broke. They knew that if they could not hold the four freaks back, then the clan head was dead. That was why they would use their own lives to keep the four here. However, none around understood this. Some demon-scheming sect elders saw the heavenly cycle elders stuck and cried, "These secular cultivators are amazing. They actually trapped the four dragons. This isn't possible for any ethereal stage cultivator in the lower three sects. Yeah, just how are they so strong? No wonder their steward was AIDS. They're as weird as him. But why didn't they use this move from the start? Why wait for so many to die? Yeah. Was it to show off at the last moment? After the admiration faded, suspicion rose. The sages' faces twitched as they made signs. Who the hell would use a last-ditch effort if not at the end? After this, it'd be a miracle if they were still alive. If not for the clan head being in peril, they would have never used it. But how could these fools know? Not even Luo Yunhai and Xiao Yanhai knew this truth. Only Zhua Fan saw how hard it was, touching his ring. Guess I do have to use it after all. Ha, Zhua Fan, you can't possibly think those two can stop Mystical Heaven's Sect's four guardian dragons, do you? You must be dumber than I thought. Zhua Fan did not get to act as sect leader. Xian's bragging caught his attention, pointing at the four elders, "Just watch and witness true despair." The four elders were still sitting with their eyes closed when one started, "Ha, ignorant juniors, don't get too cocky. Your domain's soul might have merit, but it's nothing to us four." The four made different signs and the dragon soaring above increased its speed, sending wave after wave of yellow energy, rattling the yin-yang chains. The sage's brow furrowed as they made their own signs, "No use. We have joined heaven and ear, ugh." Before they finished, their bodies shook and spat blood before slumping to the ground. Boom! With an explosion, the yellow energy rippled like a wave and crushed the yin-yang chains. Ha, our souls are earth dragon souls, born of the earth. While you can make our power touch the world, we can touch upon the earth to resonate with. We drew its power and used the ones we had to attack the chains from both sides. The four old guys still sat there in midair. One of them smiled, "It's not your souls that are weak, it's because you met us that happened to have the way to deal with you." The sages were on the ground, powerless, with barely a breath left in them. Their eyes were filled with regret. The elders never once looked at them. "The two souls are in a worse state and can't move. We should first deal with those pesky bugs and finish them for good." The other three elders nodded. The four spun once more and moved into the crowd of people, the ethereal stage experts of the two sects that were now fighting. The minute they joined the fray, it spelled doom for the demon-scheming sects experts. Cries and wails rang everywhere. Mystical Heaven sects elders were overjoyed. With their sect guardians fighting, the tables had turned. Demon-scheming sect's early advantage was now crushed. The faces of all the people from demon-scheming sect was now painted in the bleak colors of despair and regret. Chapter 750, Ace. Chapter 750, Ace. Proofreader, Papatonks. Ack! Wails and mournful cries kept echoing about. Roar! Among them, there were also cheers. One side was happy, the other was in the pits of despair as the four old freaks struck the demon-scheming sect side hard. Mystical Heaven sect's people were roaring their joy. In a flash, demon-scheming sect's tens of experts fell dead, their morale crushed. Some were so taken by fear that they lost all will to fight, resorting to fleeing. Defeat looked certain. "Zhua Fan, what do we do? We'll lose if this keeps up. We have to get away." Fiend Yang came to Zhua Fan to report this disaster. "My eastern side is on the brink of collapse." Venerable Bai and others came flying as well. "The western side is almost finished. The heavenly cycle elders rain death wherever they go. We can't go on. Steward Zhua, the path forward is almost shut." We should unite our forces and break through before it's too late. Venerable Qi urged. Zhuo Fan spoke, it's pointless even if we do get away from them. Our tactic to get in and attack from the inside now has us trapped in their defensive array. We're left with only one option, to either win or die. You mean there's no point even if we try? We can't break mystical heaven sect's array. Are we going to die here? Venerable Qi wailed. Fiend Yang took a deep breath to calm down, then stared hard at Zhuo Fan. Then what should we do? Are we really going to fight to the death? Of course not. Take down the leader and the rest will follow. Zhuo Fan's eyes shone as he stared at sect leader Xian. They all started getting his meaning. Of course, we just have to grab that old weasel and the mystical heaven sect will give in. Seeing the bloodthirst in their eyes, sect leader Xian got their plan and mocked as he retreated. Ha ha ha, you want me? You would never reach me. He, we'll only know when we try. Fiend Yang snickered, brothers, attack. Get that old coot. Our lives depend on it. Roar. They all shouted knowing they had a way out and focused all their power, flying straight for sect leader Xian. Their eyes were that of a thug eyeing a hot girl. Sect leader Xian shivered and turned grave. At a critical time like this, he became the sole focus of everyone. Everyone wanted him as a shield. Mystical heaven sect's experts saw their sect leader was in danger and came to help. So, the bitter battle had taken another huge turn. It was no longer a spread battlefield, but one with sect leader Xian at its center. Like he was the hottest commodity out here and everyone had to have a piece. Hi, OL, Xian, sit tight and be a good meat shield to let us out. Demon Scheming Sect's 30-plus ethereal stage experts stared at him from 100 meters and launched soul attacks. Sect leader Xian gulped, feeling the sweat trickling down his brow. Not even he could take on so many attacks. However, just when he was in danger, a draconic roar echoed. In a flash of light, a sea of dragon souls rushed at them. In a single moment, howls echoed out and the 30-plus experts were now pushed back. As for sect leader Xian, in front of him was the circle of elders with the terrible yellow dragon flying above. The demon scheming sect side cried out, heavenly cycle elders. How did they get here so fast? They gathered close to Zhuo Fan, watching the four freaks. Mystical heaven sect side also focused around sect leader Xian, filled with smiles of disdain. In a blink, there was no more fighting as the parties stood in opposition. While the mystical heaven sect was filled with courage, the demon scheming sect was now fearful. All because of just four very monstrous elders. Ha ha ha, Zhuo Fan, fighting you is beneath me. With mystical heaven sect's four guardians, you are finished. You want me? Humph, you'll have to go through our venerables first. Sect leader Xian shouted in pride. Xian Xiaoyu had to show off as well, being his son and all. Zhuo Fan, Val Demon, you fooled my junior sister and are lower than a dog. I will soon have you ripped apart in tiny pieces and throw them to the wolves. Ha ha ha. Demon scheming sect was outraged but powerless. Their last hope was in Zhuo Fan, turning to him for a resolution. What now, Steward Zhuo? You pushed me this far, so don't you regret it later. I'll have to use my final ace. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed as he played with his ring. Fiend Yang turned serious. Zhuo Fan, are you going to fight yourself? You want to fight? Han Shenying frowned, they have those four venerables. You can't beat them. Kui Lang waved her off with a smile. Shenying, you don't understand Steward Zhuo. He has an ultimate move. You haven't seen Steward Zhuo's black flame. Any kind of freak met their maker. Ahem. Zhuo Fan cleared his voice before Kui Lang finished. To be completely honest, he was also stumped on how to deal with the four elders. That black thunder flame was indeed of incredible destructive force. But after Double Dragon Gathering, he never used it because the thunder flame needed the decimating golden flame and the azure flame to be combined with purple lightning. He had no way of getting his hands on the golden flames. The ones he got on Double Dragon Gathering were stolen from Yilin, not his own. So that method was out and had no way of beating the freakish old coots. As for the other method, it was something he stole from Double Dragon Manor, the sacred weapon. But it could only be used as a very last resort. Exposing it would paint a huge target on his back. But Kui Lang's words made everyone turn to him. Everyone was now eager to see what the great Steward Zhuo would reveal. Even the four freaks believed it possible. Oh, so you're the boss of this little rabble? Show me then, what a babe can possibly do to the four of us. I hope you can at least open our eyes, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan, come and challenge our venerables if you have the guts. What difference does it make since you'll be dead anyway even if you don't, ha ha ha, sect leader Shen snarked. Zhuo Fan smiled at them all, though sighing within him, I'll have to disappoint you all, I don't plan on fighting. The demon scheming sect was stumped and shook their heads. Even Steward Zhuo can't find a way. Zhuo Fan then continued, however, I have to take out this ace. Remember this, you forced me to do it, so don't go crying later. Zhuo Fan flicked his hand and in a glorious light, a 7-year-old kid showed up, invincible scamp Gu Santong. With a long yawn, Gu Santong stretched his waist, looking bored at Zhuo Fan. Dad, what took you so long? I almost fell asleep. Ha ha ha, haven't I taken you out now? You're our ace. How can I just show you to them? I needed to wait for the right moment. Zhuo Fan grinned as he showed a bright smile like an innocent child. Gu Santong nodded, totally buying it. The crowd, however, was stumped. Even Fiend Yang began cursing him, what the hell? Why did you take out a kid when you were talking about an ace? He is my ace. With an obvious nod, Zhuo Fan spoke with pride, as a father, my son is my biggest ace. Mystical Heavens sect, listen up and listen well. To get to me, you'll have to go through my son first. Zhuo Fan's loud voice made Gu Santong puff out his chest in pride. To hold back the flood for his old man was this kid's greatest honor. However, no one else here saw it that way. Both sides were stumped, looking from father to son as they cursed. You animal! Chapter 751, Little Monster vs. Old Freaks. Chapter 751, Little Monster vs. Old Freaks. Proofreader, Papatonks. Humph, I've heard so much about the best and most talented disciple in Western lands, how he was so heroic at the Double Dragon Gathering. In the end, you're hiding behind a child. You really opened my eyes in this. Sect leader Shen mocked, while the Mystical Heaven sect was jeering at Zhuo Fan's expense. When disaster struck, a babe was taken out. Demon Scheming sect were facing a fierce enemy now, but they were all veteran cultivators. They had status and respect, even as demonic cultivators. Even they wouldn't stoop so low as to use a child to take their burdens. It was beyond disgraceful. They all cast blaming looks at Zhuo Fan. This war was a big misunderstanding to begin with. We can even forget the fact you brought us to our death, but can you at least let us die with honor? What the hell did we do to deserve this? Steward Zhuo, if you're at the end of the rope, fighting to the death is much better than leaving it in the hands of a child. Are you maybe going easy on your enemy? Venerable Qi sighed. Fiend Yang blamed Zhuo Fan, I know your whole clan is a den of freaks, obvious from how this child is in the ethereal stage at such a young age, but he's way too young and never knew war. It'd be better to let him escape and take revenge for us. Why must you push him forward, crushing our hopes and making a fool of yourself? Hey, did you just say something, chubby? Yours truly can dish it out. Are you calling me weak? Gu Santong wrinkled his nose in anger. Fiend Yang sighed and rubbed Gu Santong's head, see that, look how much he resembles you. But no matter how strong, you can't grow overconfident. He's just in the ethereal stage, how can he fight those old freaks at peak ethereal stage? Have you no heart to send your child? Gu Santong was about to blow a gasket. Zhuo Fan shook his head but said nothing. Fatty Yang, you asked for what's coming. Young Sanzi won't go easy on you. Paw! Gu Santong grabbed Fiend Yang's hand and startling him, what is it, little guy? I hate it when people touch my head. Gu Santong gnashed his teeth, but just then, a fair hand touched his as a delicate voice spoke, are you young Sanzi? I heard of you. Startled, young Sanzi looked at the pretty lady with a stunned gaze, his hand easing his grip on Fiend Yang. Then, young Sanzi, our safety is in your hands. Chu Qingqing leaned and touched Gu Santong's cheek. Her bright smile blew the child's mind, nodding out of reflex. Zhuo Fan sighed. No one can resist Qingqing's beauty, not even this brat. So he coughed and pointed at Chu Qingqing, young Sanzi, this is my lady. She'll be your mother from now on. Mom? Gu Santong shook and looked at Chu Qingqing, great, I like her. Chu Qingqing blushed and rolled her eyes at Zhuo Fan. Then she turned to the enemy at the Heavenly Cycle Elders, and asked concerned, young Sanzi, can you beat them? Won't it be hard? Humph, what's so great about some small fries? Gu Santong mocked, then strutted over, Dad, Mom, in half an hour I'll make mincemeat out of them. Chu Qingqing looked at him then at Zhuo Fan with red cheeks. Ha ha ha, this kid is just like his dad. He called you mom without hesitation. Zhuo Fan chuckled. Chu Qingqing glared at him, but felt warm and fuzzy inside. The others was watching the queer scene in stunned silence. What kind of parents sent their child to die? Even if unrelated. Han Shenying frowned and asked, Qingqing, how can you agree with Zhuo Fan, letting a child? Senior sister, he's no child. Chu Qingqing said, in Tianyu, he has never lost a fight. He's called invincible scamp for a reason. Yeah, even I couldn't beat this kid. Zhuo Fan sighed, then smiled, Qingqing, you sure know young Sanzi quite well. Chu Qingqing smiled, of course. I might have come to Mystical Heaven's sect earlier, but my sisters from Drifting Flowers Edifices have sent me jade slips with all you've been doing in Tianyu. So the fact you have such a godlike godson, I knew as well. I just find it odd though. Just what did you use to cheat this great force to be your son? The same way I charmed the most gorgeous woman to be my wife. Zhuo Fan grinned. Chu Qingqing rolled her eyes and cursed, since when were you such a smooth talker? As the two were in a rare moment of flirting with each other, Gu Santong was a child on a mission. This monstrous scamp wearing the face of a cute child was finally unleashed on the battlefield. Everyone stared at him, sighing and helpless. They knew Zhuo Fan was a bastard, but not without morals. To send a child on the cruel field of battle, and even calling him a glorified ace. How revolting. Seeing that sweet little face, and those chubby hands, they all found him adorable. That's no ace, but a small fry. Sect leader Xian mocked, is this demon scheming sect's trump card? With both parents dead, this child will have to wander alone the cruel road of cultivation? Ha ha ha, a shame that this won't work on us. We may be righteous cultivators but no saints. Humph, yeah, this demon brat is so young and in the ethereal stage. It's best to cull him now before he grows. Xian Xiaoyu gnashed his teeth. The Heavenly Cycle Elders agreed. One elder even shouted, Kid, do you really want to interfere for demonic cultivators? We won't go easy on you just because you're young. Cut the crap, I came to stomp you. Gu Santong stuck out his head and charged. Demon Scheming Sect was shocked and praised him. How brave. Like father like son, they're both stubborn. Mystical Heaven Sect clenched their fists, clear this was a demon in the making that was treating everyone beneath him. They had to get rid of him now. The elder smirked and nodded, fine then, since you've been taken in by the demonic path even at your young age, then the four of us will have to cleanse you and release you from your mortal coil. The four made signs and with a draconic roar, a dragon soul shot for Gu Santong. Everyone was shocked, worried for the sweet child. Then they looked at Zhuo Fan. Aren't you going to rescue your own son? Zhuo Fan just stood there with a smile. Hypocrite, get in here and fight. Stop with your prattle. You're nothing more than a bunch of hypocrites using numbers. Seeing the dragon about to strike, Gu Santong mocked, flicking his hand at it. Bam! With a loud explosion, the dragon was sent flying with a wail before anyone could react, back to its circle. The four elders shook, not believing their eyes. A child was capable of so much power to bash their earth dragon soul away. Gu Santong wasn't finished with his attack, he stomped and was right in front of their spinning circle. He let his almighty fist smash down on them. Boom! With another explosion, the yellow dragon constantly floating around the circle had its body cave in and cry in pain. Its body was broken and turned into pretty lights before vanishing. As for the circle, with the vanishing of the dragon, the power of his strike traveled straight for the four, who lifted a hand to block. Bam! The four were sent hundreds of meters away. They were forced to open their eyes at last, having no luxury to show off any longer. Looking at Gu Santong, they had shock painted on their faces. What the hell are you? Oh, you weren't blind? I thought you were cripples, so I held back. Damn fakers, ruining my sympathy. Now I see there's no need to any more. Gu Santong clenched his fist and mocked. The audience was still very much out of it after seeing a 7-year-old brat punch the 4 old freaks. No wonder Steward Zhuo says he's his ace. He was serious. But what the hell, there's just one freakier than the next. Looking from Gu Santong to Zhuo Fan, they sighed, having no idea what to call them anymore. How are we supposed to make a living with so many monsters around? Chapter 752, Ender. Chapter 752, Ender. Proofreader, Papatonks. A shock like no other overrode their minds and all common sense. Everyone was now watching with empty eyes as Gu Santong stood in the air. Zhuo Fan, what the hell is that kid of yours? Fiend Yang gulped. The others were looking at the Grand Steward Zhuo with overwhelming emotions. He did not reply and ordered instead, everyone scatter. Get some distance from them. Zhuo Fan was the first to move back, with others quick to react, flying 1,000 meters. While the mystical heaven sect side were still too stunned to react, not even noticing their movements. They just stood there, watching Gu Santong with a dumb look. This distance should be safe. Zhuo Fan sighed, do you know why I had young Sanzi come out now to fight? They just shook their empty minds, still dazed. Zhuo Fan chuckled, because this kid has a foul temper and mean strength. Once he gets worked up, nothing can stop him. Our main objective, you all know, is to teach mystical heaven sect a lesson, crush their attitude, not destroy them. Or Double Dragon Manor will not sit still. The oldies nodded. No matter how many conflicts there were between sects, Double Dragon Manor would never allow for them to blow out into a bloody war and weaken the western lands. Only as a last resort could I let this troublesome kid out. Or one strike from him could even wipe this thousands of years old sect off the face of this world. Zhuo Fan sighed, a shame they just don't listen, insisting on making me take out my last move. They reap what they sow, it's not my fault at all. Dude, we're the invaders here. Fiend Yang scratched his nose and felt helpless. Steward Zhuo is such a dirtbag. He has no morals. You came here to mess them up and you expect them to welcome you with wide smiles? Then again, those were demonic cultivators for you. Especially Steward Zhuo's arrogant self-righteous kind, they were everywhere. However, there was something he failed to see. Steward Zhuo, is your son that strong? The mystical heaven sect is still a sect. Don't believe me? Watch. My kid was known as an ender in Tianyu, destroying everything in his path. Zhuo Fan shrugged. Everyone frowned, then focused on the fight. Just in time to see Gu Santong walking for the mystical heaven sect with an obnoxious attitude, like none were up to his standards. Steward Zhuo, your son is your spitting image of your heroism and brutality, ha ha ha, Venerable Bai chuckled. Zhuo Fan shrugged and smiled. The heavenly cycle elders watched Gu Santong's insufferable attitude and were fuming mad. They knew the kid was more than he seemed, but his blatant disdain was getting to these elders' nerves. Enough of your arrogance, kid. We have underestimated you before, but don't think you will get rid of us so easily. Really? Then let's continue. Gu Santong snickered and hooked a finger in mockery. You're all bark and no bite. Come and get me if you want. Heavenly cycle elders were red with rage. Mystical Heaven sect side cried out, worried by their looks about the terrible kid. This was the first time seeing someone humiliate their four venerables. Though he does have the strength. They looked on with bated breaths as the two sides were ready for a grand battle. The four elders made signs, followed by draconic roars. 4 dragons took to the skies. Yellow light shone from the ground beneath and bathed the dragons, transforming them into a yellow dragon hundreds of meters long. The thick pressure was crushing on everyone's shoulders, and it was all focused on Gu Santong. However, the kid's face fell a bit and that was it. The audience, even demon scheming sect side 1,000 meters out, were gasping from shock. This power was hundreds of times stronger than what the four unleashed before. Han Chenying was bug-eyed. This is the 4 elements cycle array. Fiend Yang saw the formation and cried as well. His face was heavy. It was an array that was made by radiant stage experts and defeated 4 ethereal stage experts. Now that 4 peak ethereal stage experts formed it, its power must be unimaginable. The 4 elements cycle array borrows the power of the earth and 4 elements to unleash the world's energy. Its power is endless. I fear that not even an early soul harmony stage expert can block an array formed by the 4 high venerables. That child is in danger, Shui Ruohua was worried. They all turned their eyes on Zhuo Fan, but he was as calm as ever. Yi Lin was a Qilin. His soul and body were one to begin with. Reaching the soul harmony stage would hardly make a difference to him. Since Yi Lin could do it earlier, so can young Sanzi, but his will be stronger. Sect leader Xian saw the 4 venerables unleash such might and wrote off the kid as dead already, ignoring him. Ha ha ha, get ready for a funeral. You must have seen the power of 4 elements cycle array, but I must tell you that it is far deadlier in the hands of the venerables. Even more so when the venerables aren't using the 4 elements cycle array, but the stronger one, heavenly cycle dragon array, formed by using 4 earth dragon souls. Your end is nigh. Xian Xiaoyu heard his dad brag and laughed as well, looking the part of the winning side. Mystical Heaven sect snickered. Demon scheming sect was silent, gnashing their teeth. Only Zhuo Fan just watched Gu Santong as he said, young Sanzi. It's fine. Gu Santong waved his hand. His face was hard, but still mocked. Before me, even earth dragon souls are nothing more than worms. Zhuo Fan knew where young Sanzi's confidence came from. His body was that of a Qilin, his soul that of a sacred beast. Not even a heaven dragon's soul could top that. Zhuo Fan just eased a breath and relaxed. Young Sanzi's confidence was seen as a joke by the heavenly cycle elders, mocking him, ignorant young devil, do you even know what earth dragon soul is known for? It connects to the world. By combining with the earth, one's power grows tens of times. It's unlike the previous dragon soul you beat. And there's still worms. Gu Santong mocked and taunted, if you don't strike, I'll do it first. The heavenly cycle elders was outraged, damn brat, you have the nerve to mock us? It's best we get rid of you at once with all we have. The 4 made a sign in unison, then pointed at Gu Santong. The huge dragon roared and charged at the little figure. Everyone watched with their hearts in their throat. Only the few who believed in young Sanzi's strength were calm. Roar! Along with the draconic roar, the dragon's soul slammed down, making the ground cave in thousands of meters. Despite not feeling the dragon's brunt force, they could still feel the aftermath, the biting winds that cut at their skin. They were overwhelmed. The power was so incredible even bystanders would suffer from a stray wind. Just how would that kid stand it? When the eyes turned to Gu Santong, they were stumped once more. The kid wasn't harmed in the slightest, as if he was only standing in a mild rain. Gu Santong looked up at the incoming lizard, and took a deep breath. His body flashed scarlet, his eyes shining as he got ready to lash out with the might of a true Qilin. His body as well was itching to strike and explode with power. Chapter 753, Qilin Roar. Chapter 753, Qilin Roar. Proofreader, Papatonks. Roar. As the huge dragon's soul was right on top of him, Gu Santong perked his mouth up in one eerie smirk as he roared. An image of a scarlet Qilin came out of his body. As it howled, there were scarlet shock waves spreading out. As for the huge dragon's soul, it faltered like it met obstacles. The scarlet ripple's shock waves slammed into it, making it feel great pain with every strike and pushing it back. That's not possible. Just by roaring he can push back the earth dragon's soul as foreformed. Their eyes shaking, heavenly cycle elders cried out in unison from this shocking revelation. They could not believe their eyes that this was happening, their hands shaking non-stop. They felt an immense power coming at their array, to the point it wanted to tear it out. They could not believe what was happening. This unbridled power came from a mere child's howl. His soul was also sending the four eerie vibes, a fear they hadn't sensed in centuries. The Qilin flexed its claws, ready to tear the sky open as it howled. Anything and everything that stood in its path was feeling the brunt of its power, plunged into hell. Heavenly cycle elders' brows shook, feeling feeble. None wanted to admit it, even as they knew it already. The four had met a tough opponent this time around, one that was a freak beyond them. Roar! Gu Santong saw the huge dragon's soul just kept retreating and was on the brink of collapse. He grinned, having a nasty smile on his face as he shouted at the sky once more. Boom! In a split second, a red sound wave came at the huge dragon's soul like a tsunami. This time, the huge dragon's soul barely lasted a few seconds before crumbling down to nothing. Following the defeat of their combined earth dragon souls into the heavenly cycle dragon soul, the heavenly cycle elders spat blood in unison. Their soul had a deep wound, evident from their ashen face. They had no time to even catch their breath as the red sound wave came straight for them. Fricking hell, what monster is this brat? The four watched as the red wave came with dumb looks. They cursed in defiance, like dying old men, before being pulverized. All that was left of them was blood sprinkled down from four clouds. Not even their souls could withstand Gu Santong's Qilin roar, shaking their very core and ripping it apart. The dreaded red sound wave boomed in the distance and warped the space, sending shock waves everywhere. Everyone was too speechless to react. The four dragons of the Great Tianyu's three guardian sects, one sword 5 dragons, had been killed by a 7-year-old just like that. Holy hell, just where the hell did this freak come from? Sect leader Xian and his mystical heaven sect were sweating. They watched the still roaring Gu Santong with blank stares. Not just them, even the demon scheming sect was dumbstruck at such display of raw power. They never thought it possible that Steward Zhuo would call someone of such caliber, all packed neatly in a monster that was barely 7 years old. They thought the kid had a high chance of winning, but not to the point of being as easy as they saw. Those were mystical heaven sects for dragons. Killed just like that by a kid? What's wrong with this world? The demon scheming sect experts sympathized with mystical heaven sect. What sin have they committed to suffer this father-son disaster? They all looked at Gu Santong then at Zhuofan, chuckling to themselves. Thank God he's on our side. Roar! As the red sound wave faded into the horizon, Gu Santong's bloodlust was far from quenched. He spread out his arms and legs, making the scarlet glow on him flicker brighter. Zhuofan cried out, "Oh shit, the kid is high on his win and won't stop. Get back 5 more miles." Zhuofan was the first to get the hell out of there. The rest followed. They had no clue who Gu Santong was, but his pops should be more than clear on this. The demon scheming sect team retreated again, while Mystical Heaven's sect was just too out of it to react. By the time they came to their senses, all hope was lost. Qilan's soul might, shock and awe. Gu Santong shouted and flicked his childish hands. The red Qilan image once again came out and roared. Hum. A dreadful shock wave flew from Gu Santong in every direction. One could see with the naked eye how the scarlet wave was moving through the air. This wave was different from before. It carried death and nothing else, like a scythe coming to reap lives. The space itself warped and threatened to crack as all that stood in its way was erased from this world, going out in a puff of dust. Sect leader Xian and his team gasped, "Run!" Mystical Heaven sect panicked, each going every which way. Alas, they were just too slow. They were the closest to Gu Santong to begin with and had missed their chance in getting to a safe distance from this monster. In this chaotic retreat, hundreds of people shoved, pulled, screamed, all trying to get just a little bit further. Yet in a blink, the red wave caught up to them and even past them. Ack! The cries of pain littered the sky, losing their lives like they were no ethereal stage experts, but mere mortals. Nothing survived, even as they used all their soul power to protect themselves. Their bodies were ashes in a blink of an eye. As for their soul, it kept being shaken until it fell apart. And the enactment of this slaughter only took a few brief moments. The people watching their friends die like that were filled with shock and dread. They watched as the red wave annihilated everything in its path, not even sparing a blade of grass, or a speck of dust. Rumble. It was doomsday. The beautiful and amazing Mystical Heaven sect was being laid to waste with Gu Santong at its center. The worst part was, the destruction only increased. Steward Zhua, what do we do if the red wave comes here? Seeing the horrors the Mystical Heaven sect was going through, Venerable Qi spoke with fear. Zhua Fan waved his hand, just leave it to me. Zhua Fan's right eye flashed in 5 golden halos as he shouted, Divine Eye of the Void's 5th stage, Void Wall ×3. Hum. The space rippled and in front of them appeared 3 thick invisible walls. The red wave came and stopped before the walls, but not without giving them a good rattling. Crack. As the intense sounds echoed, everyone was on tenterhooks and fear. With a loud bang, the first wall was peeled away and the red wave moved on to the second one. Everyone's face sank, looking tensely at Zhua Fan. Hey, Steward Zhua, what's with your son not knowing friend from foe? He's coming after us as well. Zhua Fan easily understood their fears and just stared at the second wall without replying. The red wave slammed into the second wall and started rattling it too, but this time, it was far weaker. With a bang, signaling its collapse, the wave came upon the third wall, but very much dimmed. It struck the third wall, shaking it a little, just like in arm wrestling, none giving an inch. Everyone tensely watched the scene. If Zhua Fan's last void wall couldn't stop it, they would end up just like Mystical Heaven sect. Though they would be in a better spot, as the wave was much weaker than the one that culled their enemies. Chapter 754, Waste. Chapter 754, Waste. Proofreader, Papatonks. Crack. With a sharp sound, Zhua Fan's last void wall was about to fall, giving way for the red wave to attack. The demon scheming sect team's faces turned heavy, their hearts in their throat as they used all they had to protect themselves. Kuei Lang held Han Xianyin close, as he used his soul power to protect both of them. Bam! Zhua Fan's third void wall collapsed at last and caused the others to jump. The red wave swept for them the next second. But before it reached them, it faded away into nothing and Gu Santong's dreadful power never touched them. Startled, they all looked at each other before bursting in joy. The kid's vibration wave was like a shock wave. My void wall used separate spaces to lower its power. One can say they're mutually exclusive. Zhua Fan eased a long breath, if not, In the face of that high-intensity vibration, even an ethereal stage expert would receive a heavy wound, if not killed outright. The others nodded, exuberant they just got out alive. Venerable Bai gave a thumbs up. Steward Zhua, you really know your son the best. If it were anyone else, they'd suffer for it. Only you could resist it. You are his father after all, ha ha ha. The others laughed alongside him. Ha ha ha, you don't have to say that. I'm so much weaker than my kid. Since we're so far away and the kid didn't use a targeted move, I could block it. Zhua Fan sighed. Now do you understand why I didn't want to take him out? Because this brat forgets himself, just like a child. The others nodded and felt Zhua Fan's pain. Such a mighty power in the hands of a rash kid. It was not just deadly to the enemy, but even to oneself. The only reason Steward Zhua let the boy out was because the Heavenly Cycle Elders intervened. I worry he just destroyed Mystical Heaven's sect with this move. How are we going to explain it to Double Dragon Manor? Zhua Fan frowned and sighed. With sacred beasts' pride, they never go easy. Ever since young Sanzi was taught about being a Qilin, he's been going further and further down the path of a king of beasts. Just like earlier, the enemy was clearly crushed, but he still showed off his power as if to show he was the best in the world. He gave no thought to the consequences. This was the difference between beasts and humans. Beasts only cared about power, while humans were shrewd, turning the strong into weak, defeat into victory. Young Sanzi was a Qilin's son, so following the beast way was a given, though throwing him into the world of man was far from sensible. If he lacked the tiniest bit, Zhua Fan, his godfather, would have died alongside the enemy. Sighing, Zhua Fan shook his head. Fiend Yang spoke in a shaken tone. Zhua Fan, look there. Your son didn't ruin Mystical Heaven's sect, though there's barely anything left. He really is an ender. For crying out loud, what kind of monsters is your clan made of? One is worse than the last. The father ruled Double Dragon Gathering and the son stomps a sect? This is unnatural. The rest turned their heads to look only to be staring agape. Gu Santong was still acting almighty in the sky, looking down on everything, but turning to Mystical Heaven sect, the previous nice scenery was reduced to rubble, with corpses strewn everywhere. There were also sobs and cries here and there, while blood trickled from every corner. This was hell, no two ways about it. Han Qianying and Shui Ruohua looked away in tears. This was their home. Chu Qingcheng looked away as well, even if she hadn't been here for long. Dad, Mom, I mowed them good. It hasn't even been half an hour. Gu Santong smiled as he sped for them. The others were so scared they didn't even look him in the eye. What kind of child can raise a lower 3 sect to the ground? Fiend Yang looked worried by his attitude. He still recalled the child's annoyance with him. To any normal kid that whined, Fiend Yang would only tease him more, except for young Sanzi. He didn't have it in him. He was better off keeping a safe distance. If the guy's temper went off, there wouldn't be just whining and tears, but blood and gore. Looking at the ground littered with corpses and victims, Fiend Yang felt utter regret. Am I that bored to rub a kid's head? Zhua Fan looked around then smiled at Gu Santong. Young Sanzi, you did great. Leave the rest to me. You don't have to do anything now. Sure. Young Sanzi bobbed his head like a good kid, giggling innocently. Only the guys around thought. Who'd ever believe that pure smile? Seeing the bloody aftermath, Venerable Qi said, Steward Zhua, this isn't easy to settle. We need a very good reason for all of this to make the Double Dragon Manor stop even if they come here. I know that. Zhua Fan's eyes shone. Find sect leader Xian and Xian Xiaoyu fast. There are only hope of coming clean out of this mess. None knew what he meant but they obeyed, understood. They all began their search. Venerable Qi and Bai shared a look and grinned. Crash! In a pile of rubble, sect leader Xian crawled out from all that rock, bleeding from his mouth. He had no time to address his condition as he felt the rubble shift under him and a youth clawed his way out, Xian Xiaoyu. Only Xian Xiaoyu looked deathly pale, the spiritual armor on him had long since broken into two, dangling from his body. Thank God the 9th grade spiritual armor was here to save his life. Sect leader Xian touched his hand and sent his soul power to check Xian Xiaoyu's condition. He laughed in joy, Xiaoyu, I'm so happy you're fine. Xian Xiaoyu opened his eyes to see his father, but then he gasped, Dad, Zhuofan ruined our sect. We can't let him get away with this. Don't worry. I will definitely make sure he'll be ripped apart for you. Sect leader Xian's face was hard. Xian Xiaoyu showed a weak smile, great. Zhuofan, I won't ever let you and junior sister Qingqing be happy together. Ha ha ha, you can't even protect yourself, young Master Xian. Yet you still have the luxury to worry about Qingqing and my happiness? Why thank you. Xian Xiaoyu did not get to finish as a mocking tone came. Sect leader Xian looked to see Zhuofan bearing a sinister smile as he came over with the girls. Sect leader Xian spat, Zhuofan, demon fiend, you ruined my sect and still dare to show your face here? Why not? With your heavy wounds, what can you possibly do to me? Zhuofan raised an eyebrow, mystical heaven sects experts are now dead or wounded. Even you can't protect yourself. So why the high and mighty attitude? You, sect leader Xian was filled with fury, but didn't get to finish as he coughed blood again. Zhuofan shrugged, see, you have no power left. Your life is now in my hands. I'll be honest here. Your death or survival is at my whim. You have no choice in the matter. Sect leader Xian remained silent, only biting his lip. Utter humiliation. A sect leader like him had never been in such a state before. Taunted by the enemy and with no way of retorting, because he knew what he said was the truth. He was now powerless. The demon-scheming sect team grinned at him. Han Shenying and the girls just sighed. The great mystical heaven sect had gotten theirs, now reduced to this. Well, do you want to live or die? Zhuofan's eyes shone, getting to the main point. Chapter 755, Rules. Chapter 755, Rules. Proofreader, Papatonks. Sect leader Xian's brow shook. He looked with gnashed teeth at Zhuofan but said nothing. Despite that, the humiliation was so great he clenched his fists. Zhuofan ignored it all and leaned over him, reaching with his venomous claw and hoisting Xian Xiaoyu by the neck. In that case, there's nothing more to talk about. Wait, what are you doing? Let him go. Sect leader Xian cried out. He wanted to move but he only coughed more blood. Zhuofan snickered as he shouted, do you want to live or die? Sect leader Xian's eyes shook, but the words were stuck in his throat, because speaking meant surrendering. As they say, it is better to die on your feet than live on your knees. Many of the secular cultivators could do it, so why couldn't the great sect leader of mystical heaven sect? But looking at his son, turning red from the grip on his neck, sect leader Xian sighed and shook his head. When even an ant clings to life, what more's there to say about man's desire to live? What do you want, Zhuofan? Sect leader Xian, that's an attitude more befitting of moving with the times, ha ha ha. Grinning, Zhuofan relaxed his hand and Xian Xiaoyu slumped to the ground, gasping for breath. He looked at Zhuofan in fear, having lost his cocky attitude. Ignoring the useless son, Zhuofan gave Venerable Qi a look and he threw an empty jade slip over to sect leader Xian. Taking it, sect leader Xian asked, what's this? Ha ha ha, nothing much, just hoping sect leader Xian can help me write something down. Zhuofan beamed. Sect leader Xian's hand tightened at his words and his brow furrowed. Zhuofan, you can't possibly be thinking of twisting facts and making my mystical heaven sect be the culprit here. Sect leader Xian knew the minute he put any word on the jade slip, his soul signature would be imprinted on it. Then no matter how much he begged Double Dragon Manor for justice, no one would believe him. They would have no choice but to live with this stain. His hands shook and his teeth clenched together. All while the demon scheming sect team was looking at him with mockery. Yeah, that's right. We bet you and now we're robbing you of any means of fighting back. What are you gonna do about it? It's not our fault you turned out to be so weak, ha ha ha. Looking at the piles of rubble around him that were once his sect, at the dead experts and few survivors, they had no other fate than to be under someone's thumb. Sect leader Xian sighed, his hand twitched as it held the jade slip. Sect leader Xian, if you don't do this, we'll leave no survivors. Zhua Fan snickered, we might even turn this place into a wasteland. You dare? Why the hell not? Zhua Fan shouted back, the central area is getting ready for war with the other lands. Mystical Heaven Sect's demise can be written off with hundreds of excuses. Moreover, the girls were your disciples and with a few words to Double Dragon Manor, your case will be put aside. Who would want to test the relations because of a lower 3 sect only to give room for the enemy to strike? Shaking all over, sect leader Xian's face fell. At the end of the day, rules are gimmicks used in times of peace. When the enemy comes knocking, even Double Dragon Manor would focus on the good of Western lands. Who'd have the time to waste on rules? Zhua Fan grinned, sect leader Xian has been around for so long and should know this better than anyone. Sect leader Xian's clenched fist finally eased and sighed, if the central area is indeed attacking, haha, the Mystical Heaven Sect's matter will be forgotten. I talk, you write. Ignoring him and his last probe, Zhua Fan spoke in a cold tone, as if he already knew the central area would come. When he was just being full of it. But because he was acting like this, sect leader Xian bought it. Firstly, the matter with Qingcheng. You came to her for Double Dragon Gathering. Now that's over, the deal is also over. But you still forced her to stay. As her husband, I came to take her but you started pushing me around which led to war. Zhua Fan narrated while sect leader Xian wrote down like a machine. Next, Mystical Heaven Sect's elders picked on me with their superior numbers and then demon scheming sect's elders came to the rescue, leading to both sides entering a bitter fight. Sect leader Xian's eyes shook, but he stayed silent. Picked on you? You were the one who got the whole sect to come in hiding and you dare say picked on you. You did it knowing fully where it led. This Zhua Fan is so sinister, planning it all from the start and I fell right for it. Sect leader Xian gnashed his teeth in hatred, writing down as Zhua Fan said it. Finally, after a hard battle, the demon scheming sect came out victorious, being lenient on you seeing how both were sects from Western lands. But the casualties were too great and not what we hoped for. Your clan also knew this matter could have been done without bloodshed and sincerely apologized, promising to leave this matter as that. To prove it, you leave this jade slip. Finishing, Zhua Fan nodded, that's about it. Did you get it all, sect leader Xian? For God's sake, this is clearly kicking us while we're down. I'm so mad yet I can't even fight back. Sect leader Xian's hands shook, his breath ragged as he finished writing. Looking at the green jade slip, he wanted to crush it so badly. He knew that the instant he handed it over, his loss today would be left with his sect suffering in silence. Double Dragon Manor would see that he was in the wrong and would not take his side. They wouldn't even look into it, now with how ruined his sect was. Are these reasons enough? Seeing sect leader Xian shaking as he offered the jade slip, Zhua Fan did not take it but looked to the others, you guys have been around Western lands for longer and understand the rules better. What am I missing here? Sect leader Xian spurted blood on the spot. For crying out loud, isn't this disgrace enough? You want more? Are you trying to peel us one strip at a time? Venerable Qi smiled and shook his head, Steward Zhua, these are enough. Steward Zhua saving his wife after being trapped is reasonable. Our later help to Steward Zhua is only natural. It's all reasonable. Even if you argue it with Double Dragon Manor, it still won't matter, ha ha ha. Hold it. Kuei Lang shouted, bowing to Venerable Qi and saying, Steward Zhua, I find these reasons adequate, but not enough to stir sympathy. They're too plain. Shouldn't we flourish it a bit? Paw! Zhuofan clapped and praised, "Good man, you sure have improved after sticking with me for so long. We might be demonic cultivators, but this fight was fought for justice. Sect leader Xian, make sure you write down your endless greed, trying to extort me out of my 2,000 sacred stones, and also wanting to suck women's eam to cure your son. It seems that in this battle, we took heaven's place in purging the demons, and setting an example for everyone." What? Sect leader Xian's face twitched and cried out, "You, demonic cultivators dare use heaven as your excuse? I told you to write, not yap." Zhuofan's face expression steeled. He stepped on Xian Xiaoyu's leg, "Life or death, choose." Sect leader Xian's fists shook and sighed, writing down as he said it. This was no longer just a scuffle between sects, but a question of mystical heaven sect's morals. A righteous sect actually wanted to use women's eam to cure someone and even tried stealing another sect disciple's sacred stones. Although sect leader Xian did not want to admit it, Zhuofan truly did purge demons in this case. Once he handed this to the demon-scheming sect, it was the same as handing blackmail evidence for them to threaten him with. They would not only be left with no means of rebuking them, but even obeying them. Or when the jade slip got out, the mystical heaven sect would never rise again. If it had happened in peace times, sect leader Xian wouldn't have done it even killed. But his son was in their hands and he had no choice but to fold. The future looked bleak, with generations being threatened by the demon-scheming sect. He truly suffered more than he could have imagined this time. Seeing this, Venerable Qi patted Kui Lang's shoulder, "Disciple, you've grown. Ha ha ha, it's all thanks to Master and Steward Zhuo's teachings." Kui Lang bowed humbled. The others laughed. Only the girls rolled their eyes and shook their heads. They're all evil demonic cultivators who only got worse with Zhuofan around. Chapter 756, Burden. Chapter 756, Burden. Proofreader, Papatonks. Who? Letting out a long sigh, sect leader Xian finished filling self-incriminating facts into the jade slip and slumped powerlessly to the ground, the jade slip falling at his side. Zhuofan flicked and the jade slip went to his palm, nodding after checking the content. The battle now took a righteous tone and the enemy was vanquished in heart as well. There was no need to fear Double Dragon Manor any longer. "Dad," knowing what just happened, Xian Xiaoyu's face fell. Sect leader Xian showed a smile, then he looked hard at Zhuofan. "Zhuofan, are we done here?" "Ha ha ha, of course, thanks, sect leader Xian." Zhuofan nodded, then showed bloodthirst. "Men, kill half of mystical heaven sect disciples." "Yes." The crowd shouted together and bowed. Zhuofan was gone as well, appearing next to Xian Xiaoyu. In his eyes filled with fear was reflected the hand that clutched his throat. Xian Xiaoyu's face went red, unable to breathe. He flailed his arms against Zhuofan, despite how pointless it was. He was nothing more than a weak little chick. Sect leader Xian shouted, "Zhuofan, what are you doing? Didn't we say?" "Humph, ever heard of the saying, don't trust a demonic cultivator?" Zhuofan mocked, "You always curse demonic cultivators for being vile and fiends you can't trust, but at the end of it all, you still talk terms with us. Isn't that a cruel irony?" The demon-scheming sect team laughed. Sect leader Xian shook and the moment he moved from his spot, he coughed blood then slumped back down. He could only watch as Zhuofan squeezed the life out of his son. Zhuofan had a vile smile on his face. "Sect leader Xian, I never do business without assurance, much less suffering from one. In our fight with mystical heaven sect we have lost many people. So, to make sure you don't come making trouble, ha ha ha, sorry, but I'll have to cripple you. But don't worry, seeing as how it involves Double Dragon Manor, I won't destroy you, nor harm you, sect leader Xian. It would make the jade slip useless if I do, ha ha ha." With a cackle, Zhuofan showed his evil side, increasing his grip on Xian Xiaoyu. Sect leader Xian shook and spoke rashly, "Wait, Zhuofan, you can kill anyone and I won't care, but please let my son go. He's my only. And you call yourself a sect leader? You only ever cared about your son and not the sect." Everyone looked at him with scorn. Han Qianying sighed and walked to Chu Qingqing, "Junior sister, your man is amazing. Even the sect leader is being toyed with. But this is a bit too cruel. After all, Mystical Heaven sect has once been our home. We have many brothers and sisters here." Han Qianying did not finish, but her meaning was loud and clear, for Chu Qingqing to plead for them. Every king rose to his throne by trampling on a mountain of corpses. Chu Qingqing sighed as she hesitated. She had once been the ruler of Drifting Flowers edifices and knew this cruelty. Being soft now would only come back as misery to bite you. Drifting Flowers edifices had suffered so much for so long, and she could understand Zhuofan in this. This man was not as cruel as he looked, but doing all for self-preservation. It was easy to speak for Mystical Heaven sect, but she could not risk knowing it might bring Zhuofan pain later on. Even with the girls looking at her like that, she still held her ground. "Chu Qingqing." One aged voice sounded that stunned everyone. Sect leader Xian looked from the ground at Chu Qingqing with begging eyes. "Qingqing, when you wanted to save that girl's life, I helped you. The condition for that was to come to Mystical Heaven sect and save my son. That was our deal. Because of you, Zhuofan came and ruined my sect. I'm not asking you to hold your end, but at least let my son live." What? Qingqing knew everything. Shui Ruohua looked at her in shock. "You mean, you were ready to give yourself up?" "Yes, she knew everything, unlike you. Because she owed me, she would do anything I asked," sect leader Xian shouted. "A bit of favor yet returning endless gratitude. Because you met him again, you chose to break your promise. I did not mind. You wanted to see him again afterward and made another promise which I agreed to. But now, I see the last agreement won't be fulfilled. I give you back your freedom and only hope you can stay Zhuofan's hand. Leave." Crash! Sect leader Xian did not finish. Chu Qingqing did not speak either. Then they heard Xian Xiaoyu crashing to the ground, coughing in pain. Zhuofan released him with a calm face, then ignored the father and son, walking to Chu Qingqing. He took her shoulder and left while shouting, "Demon scheming sect, withdraw. Aren't we killing Mystical Heaven sect's men? There's still 100 ethereal stage experts breathing. Once they recover Fiend Yang started. But Zhuofan only held Chu Qingqing as he said, "I said withdraw. This fight is over." The demon scheming sect team looked at him oddly, then shrugged as they followed Zhuofan leaving. "Master, look after yourself. I'm going with Kuei Lang." Han Qianying took Shui Ruohua and Danner after saying her last words to sect leader Xian. Sect leader Xian shook, his face dark. Only Xian Xiaoyu was still coughing, looking at Zhuofan going away, and spoke with vitriol, "Father, we must take Rev." "Shut it." Sect leader Xian grabbed his mouth and looked at Zhuofan in worry. Seeing as he did nothing, he relaxed, then cursed, "Are you suicidal? He didn't kill all of us because of Chu Qingqing." Junior sister Qingqing, Xian Xiaoyu frowned, gnashing his teeth, "I won't let that vile spawn take her. One day I will get her back." Sect leader Xian gave him a long look, then nodded. With a steel gaze, he thought. "Don't worry, Xiaoyu, the day will come. You still need her for your illness." Meanwhile, Zhuofan and Chu Qingqing walked out of Mystical Heaven sect hand in hand. With a faint smile, the two were in their own world as a group of third wheels approached. Chu Qingqing worried, "Is it really alright to let them go? Maybe they'll harm you later." "Yeah, Steward Zhua, I think it's best we finish them off. Just like you said, the central area is attacking and Double Dragon Manor won't." "You're wrong." Fiend Yang approached to say, but Zhuofan mocked, "Did you also believe my bluff back then? Central area's matter is only a rumor. Who knows if it's true?" I only used it to scare him. If the central area remains quiet, the Double Dragon Manor won't leave this matter be. That's why we can't ignore Double Dragon Manor's rules and give us more trouble. Fiend Yang nodded, then Zhua Fan spoke heavily. Qingqing, Mystical Heaven's sect had given us a favor back then. I will help, no, take the burden on myself since what happened to Ninger was my. Your problem is my problem. Chu Qingqing was direct. Zhua Fan nodded and smiled, yes, your problems are my problems. Since this binds you to Mystical Heaven's sect, I'll help you break it and not affect your heart. But then you. I'm a demonic cultivator, carrying all that hatred is nothing. Zhua Fan smiled at her and looked her in the eye with conviction, with me next to you, no one will force you again. Chu Qingqing started and nodded in happiness. She rested her head on his shoulder, her heart at peace. She felt like she was back to Drifting Flowers City's shabby house, with only the two of them around. Chapter 757, Killing Xian Xiaoyu. Chapter 757, Killing Xian Xiaoyu. Proofreader, Papatonks. Shit, their lovey-dovey display is so blinding it pales to my 24-karat eyes. Fiend Yang cried out and held his eyes. The others chuckled, give the lovely couple a queer smile. Zhua Fan just shrugged at Chu Qingqing, looks like we need to shake off these blind fools or they'll ruin our mood. Chu Qingqing giggled. However, a shout was heard and a familiar figure came leading tens of thousands of worn-out soldiers. Brother Zhua, did we win? Luo Yunhai asked in joy. Sticking out his chest, Gu Santong spoke with pride, of course. When I go, nothing can stop me. The one to blame is my dad for letting me out so late, or I'd have long since wasted them. Oh, so you did it. No wonder so many died in this fight, with thousands experts from my clan as well. Luo Yunhai broke into cold sweat as he watched Gu Santong's prideful face. Young Sanzi truly is amazing. But maybe could you give us a signal the next time you fight? Gu Santong was startled while the others shook their heads. This kid is that ignorant of his raw power? Give us a signal to get some cover. But seeing Gu Santong so oblivious, Luo Yunhai did not explain, lest he get the little ball of rage angry. Big brother Zhua. Luo Yunhai turned to Zhua Fan, although we didn't need to attack the treasury, since it fell under young Sanzi's move and we had no chance to use the resources, we still managed to get some spoils of war and got to rob it. Demon Scheming Sect's hearts twitched. The Mystical Heavens sect has been around for millennia. Their treasury must be loaded. They won the battle but were so focused on the joy that they forgot something so basic. How stupid of us. So Fiend Yang was the first to jump in. Oh, clan head of the secular world, we're all allies here. We should settle the accounts, since we did so much hard work ourselves. We should get the biggest share. Ha ha ha, relax, we only came to help brother Zhua. All of it will be yours. Luo Yunhai waved his hands like it was nothing. Fiend Yang raised an eyebrow and nodded. This kid is upright and good. What kind of ally doesn't want to be paid after being asked for help? The other elders were also admiring him. Zhua Fan, who would fight for every stone, shook his head. Yunhai, I'll make it up for Luo clan for their help. Brother Zhua, we're all a family. What make it up to us? Luo Yunhai waved his hand, glancing at Chu Qingqing. Brother Zhua, we did find something in the treasury you might want to see. Zhua Fan raised an eyebrow. What? Luo Yunhai gave Qiu Yanhai a look and he presented a ring. Zhua Fan received it and took out its items. It had 3 jade slips. Zhua Fan looked over the first and was stunned. Heavenly Cycle Dragon Array. Yes, it's the one the Heavenly Cycle Elders used. Luo Yunhai spoke, keep reading. Zhua Fan took the second one with doubt. 4 Elements Cycle Array. Yes, the array from which the Heavenly Cycle Dragon Array was developed. Qiu Yanhai spoke carefully. Steward Zhua, check the last one. Zhua Fan gave the 2 a long look then scanned the 3rd jade slip. Only this time, his eyes exploded white bloodlust. The crowd looked puzzled. Not far, sect leader Xian held his son up and gave him a recovery pill. His eyes flashed, Xiaoyu, don't worry, I'll surely get Chu Qingqing back. Whoosh! However, he did not finish as a black figure appeared in front and punched him. Rumble! Sect leader Xian and Xian Xiaoyu had no time to react. Xian Xiaoyu was reduced to pieces and blood as he splattered on the rubble. With the blood and gore dripping from sect leader Xian's face, he was still too stunned to register it as he looked at the hard and cold face of Zhuofan. Why you? Sect leader Xian's eyes were filled with tears, choked with emotion to speak. Zhuofan gave him an icy look. Sect leader Xian, thank you for your help with Ning'er. By letting Mystical Heaven sect go, all accounts are settled. Zhuofan left with a dead face, walking to Chu Qingqing and the others. Sect leader Xian's white hair was a mess, his eyes lost. He did not know why he thanked him for saving the girl nor why he came back to kill his only son. Seeing the blood around, sect leader Xian crumbled to his knees and howled in pain and sorrow. Zhuofan was back among his people, who were curious about why he first let Xian Xiaoyu go only to kill him now. Only Luo Yunhai and his men knew. Yunhai, destroy it. I don't want anyone to see it. Zhuofan spoke. Luo Yunhai nodded. Letting out a relieved chuckle, Zhuofan came to Chu Qingqing and held her waist as they walked. She just looked at Luo Yunhai curiously. What's that? Nothing of importance. Zhuofan shook his head. Qingqing, you have your own principles that I will protect, taking on me all the sins and crimes. But Zhuofan gnashed his teeth. If you are in danger, no matter the principle, even my path, I'll cross them all. Chu Qingqing gave him a long look and smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder in happiness. I don't want you to give up everything for me. I only want to help you achieve your ambition. Seeing them go, the others looked at Luo Yunhai. Fiend Yang was smiling from ear to ear. Luo clan head, what was that? Nothing you should know about. Luo Yunhai spoke in a hard tone. Brother Zhuo wants this destroyed so no one can see it. Or the ending of Mystical Heaven sect's young master. Ugh! They all shook and coughed, looking at Zhuofan. Since it was so dangerous, they could stall their curiosity. It was much better to live. Once all were gone, Luo Yunhai looked at the third jade slip. He let out a long breath and shook his head. Empty spirit body, the desire of every cultivator. It can even help gods, but look what disaster it brought. But one thing is certain, the heavenly cycle elders sure were geniuses to come up with such an array. With a smile, Qiu Yanhai sighed, from heavenly cycle dragon array to four elements cycle array, to come up with, ha ha ha. I bet it was made to fit the young sect leader like a glove. Nodding, Luo Yunhai sighed, yeah, why else would Brother Zhuo go back on his words and kill the one he just spared? As long as he's around, the Mystical Heaven sect would never let go of Sister Qingqing, the best cauldron. But even so, there may be one coming later on who would want her. Qiu Yanhai's eyes shone. Luo Yunhai nodded, that's why Brother Zhuo wanted it destroyed. This is an array to exchange a life for a life. Qiu Yanhai gave a heavy nod, then had the three jade slip hold in his hand and used his power. Hot energy was released. If you just crush them, someone dead set on it might recover them. Allow me to destroy them. However, a beautiful figure appeared. Wait. Sister Qingqing. Miss Qingqing. The two looked shocked. What are you doing here? Chapter 758, Countering Demon Scheming Sect. Chapter 758, Countering Demon Scheming Sect. Proofreader, Papatonks. Half an hour later, Zhuofan unsealed Han Shenying and Shui Ruahua's cultivations. The two quickly opened the sect array and the demon scheming sect with the Luo clan left after taking care of their wounded and burying their dead. Even after everyone left, Zhuo Fan stayed behind. He had unsealed Chu Qingqing's cultivation a while back, and yet she immediately went away saying she had something to do. Now he was waiting for her. Whoosh! Chu Qingqing's amazing figure came back before Zhuo Fan with a smile. I'm back. That's good. Let's go as well. Zhuo Fan nodded and held her hand tightly. Chu Qingqing was startled. Aren't you going to ask me where I was? Ha ha ha, no matter where you go, as long as it's not dangerous, I won't ask, and I'd even let you go. Zhuo Fan chuckled. You're my wife, not an underling, nor a prisoner. You have your own freedom. Chu Qingqing beamed with joy. We truly know each other best. He knows me and I know him. They also did not want all their affairs to be known either, to feel like they were being watched. So Chu Qingqing did not ask about Zhuo Fan's matter, and he didn't ask about hers either. This was mutual respect. However, the two's silent agreement hadn't lasted 3 steps, as Zhuo Fan said with a frown, Qingqing, just where did you go? Chu Qingqing rolled her eyes and giggled. Didn't you say you won't ask? Why are you going back on your word? Ha ha ha, sorry, I know that I shouldn't restrain you, but I can't help but know everything about you, down to the last detail. This is such a complicated feeling. Zhuo Fan shook his head. It's my first time feeling like this and I don't understand. It feels so impulsive. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. I respect your wish. However, Chu Qingqing stopped him and flashed the thunder ring on her finger in front of him. I went back for this. After Mystical Heaven sect trapped me, they even took my storage ring. I went after it. I see, so it was nothing, ha ha ha, Zhuo Fan nodded. Chu Qingqing glared. What nothing? This ring comes as a pair, a proof of our relationship. How is it nothing? Yeah, you're right, ha ha ha, Zhuo Fan nodded, his heart warm and fuzzy. Despite being a thunder ring, this ring of his was also a sacred ring, unlike the one she had, which was simple, even though he made it. Chu Qingqing cared for it because it represented their bond, which filled him with happiness. However, their little warm bubble was soon broken as Chu Qingqing recalled something and mocked, oh, I was wrong. The ring isn't a pair since there's another one. Something similar is worn by Miss Luo. Well, Zhuo Fan was sweating. Chu Qingqing went on with a smile. These 3 rings will be together later on and we will live happily together. Qingqing, she isn't like that. She's just family, and the ring was already passed to Yunhai, the keepsake of Luo clan head. Oh, I see. Then Shuanger, Yongning, Lianer, Miss Shua. Zhuo Fan's mouth twitched. Qingqing, you're the leader of Drifting Flowers edifices, a person of power. Yeah, but sometimes I'm impulsive too. I don't want to limit you. It's just that when Sister Peony sent me those sending jades containing strange information, my heart felt heavy. Batting her eyes, Chu Qingqing showed her mischievous side. Zhuo Fan's eyes shook, cursing Peony for being a busybody. Then he shook his head. Chu Qingqing's assault never relented as she kept asking awkward questions and putting Zhuo Fan on the spot. This was how they walked out of this place, hand in hand. In this moment, the two were unlike the high cultivators they were, nor deep schemers, just a loving couple. They bicker, they nag and they flirt. Seeing the two go, Luo Yunhai and Qiu Yanhai shared a pained look. Luo Yunhai sighed and said, Brother Zhuo asked us to destroy the jade slip before anyone saw it, but in the end Sister Qingqing saw it too. What now? Clan head, it's all fine. Qiu Yanhai pondered. Steward Zhuo wanted no one to set their eyes on Miss Chu. Now that the jade slip is destroyed, Miss Chu can't be hurting herself, right? It's fine. Thinking it over, Luo Yunhai nodded, I hope so. But Brother Zhuo's order was to not let anyone see it. Now that Sister Qingqing did, how do we tell him? Miss Chu said it herself, to just not include her. They're together anyway, so it won't matter, ha ha ha. Qiu Yanhai scratched his head. Clan head, I'm a knowledgeable old man and some things are better not taken so seriously. It's best to gloss over it. When you have a lady yourself, you'll know what it means to be love-struck. Giving the old man a long look, Luo Yunhai nodded. Since sister Qingqing and brother Zhua are family, it's fine if there are some things hidden from the husband or wife. The two then nodded, reaching a decision, and hurried to catch up. However, to Chu Qingqing, she had lied to Zhua Fan for the first time, and due to their trust, Zhua Fan did not suspect anything. But this, however, was foreordained to become Zhua Fan's biggest regret of his lives. After leaving, they rested for half a month 10 miles from Mystical Heaven's sect and continued onward. Zhua Fan had given Li Jingtian and the elders pills and helped them recover faster. The demon scheming sect was jubilant in the meantime from the spoils of war they got after that big fight. The happiest was Kuei Gang. His darling son, Kuei Gang, was seeing his mother for the first time. He now knew that his father prepared this surprise for him. They hugged in tears and in joy, holding each other close. Venerable Qi was very much against Kuei Lang and the girl from the Mystical Heavens sect getting together, but this time they seized Mystical Heavens sect and cut their arrogance down to size, not to mention they got a little something extra for their troubles. He didn't even mind seeing Zhua Fan happy with his lady. Moreover, since Steward Zhua managed to get a girl from a righteous sect to join him, his disciple couldn't. Maybe this victory would be enough to make sect leader overlook it. Anyway, the result was better than the fault, leaving room for discussion. And so, the whole group continued on. Zhua Fan did not separate from them and went back to the demon scheming sect with the Luo clan. They then arrived at the valley where the two teams met for the first time. Shuang'er and Yongning were anxiously waiting under Yuling and Qi Changlong's care. After all joined up, the girls were overjoyed to see Chu Qingqing was saved. The girls all gathered around and talked, being close sisters with Chu Qingqing. Chu Qingqing also joined the conversation with a smile. However, while they were still lost in their victory, Zhua Fan suddenly shouted, "Listen up, the fighting isn't over." They all turned to Zhua Fan with a puzzled look. "What do you mean the fight isn't over? Isn't Mystical Heaven sect ruined?" "First of all, I've been hiding something from all of you." Zhua Fan was dead serious as he pulled Chu Qingqing in front. "I've attacked Mystical Heaven's sect for my personal reason, to save my wife. I thank you all for your help." Zhua Fan cupped his hands before them. The people were stunned, then laughed. "Ha ha ha, Steward Zhua, we already figured it out. What's the big problem?" "Yeah, with your merit, fighting to get a woman won't make sect leader say anything." Venerable Bai laughed. Zhua Fan shook his head and watched the crowd. "This was what I wanted to tell you. Sect leader Xia Weiyue doesn't know about our fight with Mystical Heaven sect. It was all me." Ugh! They all stood dumbstruck, hardly believing Zhua Fan's words. Impersonating the sect leader was a serious offense. To even take all of the sect's experts and fight another, that was inexcusable. With Xia Weiyue's temper, they could see how this wouldn't end well, and they shook all over. Seeing them react like that, Zhua Fan squinted. He spoke something that gave them the biggest shock of all. It almost blew their minds. "That's why, we are now going to counterattack the demon scheming sect and seize power." Proofreader note: whoa, the author really planted several flags in this chapter. Chapter 759, Uprising. Chapter 759, Uprising. Proofreader, Papatonks. SSS. Gasping, everyone was floored by this shocking revelation. This is an uprising, plain and simple. First you went to beat one sect into the ground and now coming back to beat your own. It was beyond what any of the demon scheming sect experts imagined. They went out of the sect only to come back as rebels. They were all demonic cultivators, sure, but their loyalties still laid with their sect. This was too much to take in. Even outsiders like Han Shenying were speechless at Zhua Fan's brazen declaration. She walked over to Chu Qingqing and whispered, "Junior sister, your man is truly brutal. He doesn't just go against his sect, he wants all the other elders and venerables to be there with him. They must be regretting it now, for being toyed with by your man. Senior sister, Zhuofan isn't after wealth and glory. He's only looking after himself. Chu Qingqing sighed. Han Shenying nodded, maybe, since impersonating the sect leader and giving orders to attack another sect deserves capital punishment. If he doesn't rise now, the demon-scheming sect would hunt him down forever. While everyone can see it, that doesn't mean everyone would be so decisive. He is a man that knows what to do. Unlike my Kui Lang, who likes to boast, he'll never do it in his life. Chu Qingqing nodded. Looking at Zhuofan's straight figure and confidence, her eyes swam in love. Her husband was the boldest hero, doing everything without looking back. No matter what situation he was in, his eyes had always looked at things from a different perspective. Looking coldly at those shocked faces, Zhuofan spoke, "Actually, I am all for a peaceful resolution and not revolting. You all know that I am about to leave the demon-scheming sect and don't care for wealth and glory. However, there's no way I'm going to let others take my life. This is as low as I'll ever go." The crowd looked at each other with confusion in their eyes, not knowing what to say. "I know what you're thinking, to make me take all the blame." Zhuofan was quite calm despite having seen their intentions. "I had thought about this as well. Everything that happened so far is because of me, so taking responsibility is only natural. If my life can save everyone, I'm willing to give it. But just think for a second. Will Xie Weiyue let you go with his foul mood?" They all shook at Zhuofan's words, their last hope crushed to pieces. Giving them a cold look, Zhuofan shouted, "Wake up. Stop resorting to petty tricks and dreaming for hopeless peace. Everyone knows of Xie Weiyue's cruelty. Would he let you live after you used the sect's name to attack another sect's elders without his orders? This was a clear challenge to his authority. You of all people should know him better than me. But this isn't. Yes, I faked his orders." Someone stood up, pointing a feeble finger at Zhuofan, but he cut him off. "You must understand, what difference would it make, when you'd be guilty by association? Why would the inner sect elders come along with me? Humph, as matters stand, Xie Weiyue has already lost his trust in you. While he won't do anything to you for now, since the demon-scheming sect has 10,000 sacred stones, in 100 years, there would be plenty of homegrown elders and venerables to replace you along the way. You best not forget who you are, my labor office's elders. You have taken on my symbol for a long time now and can't escape this. The minute Xie Weiyue labels me a traitor would be the moment you all will be taken care of. It's only a question of time. In the demon-scheming sect it is the inner sect and venerable Shi who have the true power. Working hard for so many years to seize power back, only to lose it all in the end. Would you be willing to accept that?" A shiver went through them all, hearing Zhuofan's passionate speech. They were now filled with regret and unwillingness. Venerable Bai stood up, holding out his hands. "Listen to me, friends, Steward Zhuo is right. While it does look like he set us up, we should not forget that it was also Steward Zhuo that helped us earn so much in the labor office. We and Steward Zhuo have been on the same side from the start. Returning to the sect now, if sect leader does not pursue this and will overlook it, then we won't have a civil war. But if he insists on holding Steward Zhuo accountable, then we will have to stand up. Steward Zhuo is our leader, and when he falls, we fall with him. If Steward Zhuo is gone, sect leader can finish us off whenever he wants to. We're nothing to him and can't fight him either. That's why, labor office elders, we must assure that Steward Zhuo is alive and well." Yes, Venerable Bai is right. Venerable Qi stood up as well. "We must not fall for sect leaders' delay tactics, because we have an overwhelming advantage. We've all seen the power the Luo clan displayed in the battle with the mystical heaven sect, especially Steward Zhuo's son. It can be said that at this moment, we hold the power. If sect leader won't give us a straight answer, it's time for a change in leadership. Being indecisive and stalling will only get us killed. Everyone here knows just how brutal sect leader can be. Hearts stirred with their speech and the people nodded as a fire lit in their eyes. Just like Venerable Qi said, with such power on their side, taking the sect was a done deal. But once the Luo clan left, they'd be nothing more than another neck on the chopping block when Xie Weiyue started hacking. This was not the time to dawdle. Seeing the looks they sported, filled with resolve, Venerable Qi looked from Steward Zhuo to the others. Moreover, we've all seen the fight between sect leader Xian and Zhuofan. They were evenly matched. That is why it is my opinion that if Xie Weiyue's tyranny comes to an end, Steward Zhuo would make a fine sect leader, ha ha ha. Hail, sect leader Zhuo! All of them turned their heads and greeted as they got ready for an uprising. Just like in an imperial revolt, they called out their leader as the true emperor. Zhuofan raised an eyebrow and glanced at Venerable Qi. Zhuofan then laughed, holding his hand for silence. Hear my order. Get ready for counter-attacking demon scheming sect. Yes, sir. They all cupped their hands, filled with battle spirit. The morale was actually higher than when they set out for Mystical Heaven sect. Because this was a civil war they couldn't afford to lose. Fiend Yang held his head and sighed. Weiyue, you brought it on yourself. Look what your constant criticism of them has brought. They are revolting, while you are still dreaming of being a top middle 3 sect. Just how am I supposed to help you? Fiend Yang shook his head, catching up with the others and in deep thought on how to solve this. Zhuofan and Xie Weiyue were good friends with the fiends, but now, who were they to side with? This was a true uprising against leadership, to take the crown. Meanwhile, just outside the demon scheming sect's barrier, the door was opened and Xie Weiyue waltzed in beaming with joy, unaware his sect leader's seat was hanging by a thread. The sect leader is back. The sect leader is back. 2 children ran to the inner sect to report. Xie Weiyue walked on, smug and happy. It was obvious from a mile his trip outside was one filled with flattery directed at his rear. He barely took 2 steps before he frowned. He looked around puzzled. Why is the sect so quiet? Where is everyone? Sect leader. Shouts came, Venerable Shi leading 100 inner sect elders as they rushed over. They bowed at once. Sect leader, I'm ashamed for being so late in welcoming you, ha ha ha. Xie Weiyue looked at them in doubt. What's going on? Why just you guys? What about the rest? The elders, venerables, and even disciples, where are they? Sect leader, didn't you tell Steward Zhuo to take them out? They have yet to return. Venerable Shi faked. Xie Weiyue was stunned. Zhuofan? Didn't he leave? Why is he back? Also, when did I tell him to take out the sect's elders? It wasn't your order. But he held your token. Playing his act till the end, Venerable Shi muttered confusedly, this is bad. Steward Zhuo held your token and said that he wanted all the experts and disciples, even venerables, to follow him outside. I found it odd and came with my inner sect elders to stop him, but sect leader knows how labor office is his. One word from him and they'll all follow. I don't know where they went. He can't be using them, can he? Venerable Shi glanced at Xie Weiyue's face and saw it dark and brooding. His fists clenched, his eyes shot with bloodthirst. It seems to me these tigers are about to claw each other, ha ha ha. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.